Just one third down conversion tonight. Make it 2 on a big run from Avery Johnson all the way to the end zone. How about that?
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Rising up the seam for Keithy in stride. He's got him out to midfield. Terrific throw from Cam Rising.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
This time it's going to be Leonard on the ground. Leonard showing some moves and some speed. A foot race to the 10, to the touchdown. 56 yards. Beautiful run by Riley Leonard.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Hampton wide open running. 30, 25, 20, 10, 5, touchdown Carolina.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Sanders looking wide open, touchdown, Dylan Edwards. Milroe's going to keep this. Cuts it outside, almost an offensive face mask. Milroe steps up in the pocket. He's going to take off with it, and he's getting the first down and a lot more. This is what he can do. Milroe might have scored.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We are back in studio. Elm and MLK just a little bit on the west side of I-35 in Waco. It's nice to be back, but Vegas was great. It's interesting to get back into the state of Texas, where I've lived now for a lot of my life, and realize it's cooler than what we experienced in Las Vegas, that dry heat. But enough of that. We had fun, good stuff with the Big 12 Media Days. We still have a couple of interviews that will run today and tomorrow with that too. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoke are on the set. As you can see, Garrett Ross runs the mothership. Emery Winter, Levi Caraway, Jack McKenzie, always a part of making us look and sound great whenever we're on the air or not. What time did you get to bed?
Probably about 2:45.
Okay, Craig, I know I dropped you off.
Yeah, what time was that? Like
2:30?
Yeah. I stayed up I probably got to bed a little after 4. And yeah, I was dragging. I think we all were at that point. It was a very, very long day. And Vegas was great. Big 12 Media Days was awesome. I still got a lot of thoughts on kind of what we saw and how it all went. I should have brought the coffee mug. I know we got some cool coffee mug gifts, but I was unpacking last night, and they actually had as like the media gift these very cool Big 12 coffee mugs that they gave away. And so I need to, or one of us need to bring that so we can show it off to folks.
I didn't bring mine back. I think I gave it to somebody else because I don't drink coffee, but it'd be a great thing on the shelf.
Yeah, it would.
Us. And we got some news on the shelf behind us here in just a second.
Yeah,
we'll do that in just a second.
For sure. But yeah, I was unpacking that. And I was like, oh yeah, this was one of my better takeaways was like this cool gift and just the city of Las Vegas and what a treat it was to be there for the first time and then to see, all the sights and sounds of the couple of days that we were there. It was great. I did also think about today when getting up, not so much last night because we were all in zombie mode basically, but I think I do prefer the Texas humidity versus the Las Vegas dry heat. But I did see some conversation I came across because I was like, how do people live in this? They don't go outdoors in Las Vegas. That's the whole key is they don't go outdoors. And here in Texas, we're still going out and golfing at this point. And I know you'll go golfing this weekend, and there's people outside doing all sorts. In Las Vegas, they just stay indoors basically most of the day, and that's how they survive that type of heat.
But, yeah, it's not 120 every day in Las Vegas. When it's not summer, it's quite pleasant in the desert.
Yeah.
So that's when they go outside. I mean, and but I'll tell you, the dry heat under triple digits is fine.
Baby, yeah.
Under triple digits, great.
Yeah.
But once you hit triple digits, then you've got to the point where, well, maybe I'd rather have some humidity at least so I don't feel I'm going to catch fire.
You know how,
exactly.
we make fun of people who come to Texas and talk about how it's hot and whatever. If they're from the north and we get it, it's you have to get accustomed to it. Folks in Nevada.
Oh, yeah, they're like, laughing at us.
You guys are from where? Texas?
Right.
But it's it's a dry heat. It's like opening up the oven after it's baked a casserole.
Yes.
Do people ever, like, when you tell me a text, like, oh, we're sorry about this heat, and you're like, no. I mean, like,
No.
you guys are fine.
No.
Like, we're not.
I love the weather in Texas.
Yeah,
it
is the difference of feeling like you're in the oven, like in the oven with it cranked all the way up. That is what it's like in Las Vegas. But like I said, I've learned from the locals there that you just stay indoors and then you come out when you need to, but you don't do much about, anything outdoors. You drink a lot of water and all that, whereas here we're still very much outdoor activity folks, even when it's 100 and humid. But our heat's not like the oven. It's like being wrapped in a warm, like, sort of soggy blanket that's walking around in the heat. So it's that different. But, we got some news to talk about.
Well, we do have some news and also some clarifying to talk about. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, will join us today at 3:30. We'll have Rich Clark, who's the executive director of the College Football Playoff, on today's show. Ketron Jackson, a wide receiver at Baylor, on today's show. CBS Sports talk show host Zach Gelb, a good friend of ours, will join us today on the show, plus off the radar in the top 5.
Before we get into our smokestack for the day,
I got it right here in front of me.
Got it. Yeah,
I got a couple of things. First of all, behind Paul and Craig on the set, you'll see a couple of new helmets. Arizona State, and also Colorado.
Utah and Houston.
Houston. We've had Houston, but not a mini helmet. So all of those are new mini helmets from the company Green Gridiron, which we have a T-shirt. Paul has one that's khaki. I have one that's kind of it's kind of bronze in a way. It might even look for Paxton and UT Parking a little.
It's like some old gold.
Old gold. And then Craig's got one with the green. These are from, again, Green Gridiron, another one of the companies that online, as a sponsor of our show, they sent us T-shirts, those mini helmets. We have everybody now from the Big 12 represented. And I wanted to say this is not about them, but it's also, this was on my front porch, my front walkway at my condo. When I walked in last night, there was a box of Dave Campbell's Texas football magazines featuring the rivalry of A&M and Texas coming back together. Rivalry Reborn. So we have those that were at my front porch when I walked in yesterday at about 2:45 or so.
And by the way, on Green Gridiron, go to greengridiron.com and you can order helmets just like this. They do custom stuff. I'll put up our link shortly. I've got to get all into that. Like, we had the meeting on July 3rd with them. I got back. I had this box, and I have not even opened all the other, marketing materials they sent. So I'll get the link out to people, and we'll have a code and all that stuff. But they
well, there we go. Craig's got a couple of helmets right there next to him.
I wanted to show off the detail here. The T-shirt feels great, by the way. Like, I'll be rocking this very soon, and looks awesome, very high quality. But here's the Utah mini helmet, and it's like your typical mini helmet, but the difference is, look at the visor on this bad boy.
Yeah,
the red visor.
Awesome. Yeah,
and then here's Arizona State for some contrast. Their yellow helmet, but like the gold visor, that's pretty sick. Like, that's pretty sweet. So, thanks to Green Gridiron for completing our Big 12 collection here. And these are a couple of examples of what you could get there as I fumble with these. But very cool, very high quality. And, thanks to them for being a part of the show.
So there we are. Thank you very much to Green Gridiron for what they did, but sending us the T-shirts and also becoming another sponsor of this show. So here's something of interest. Yesterday evening, so we wrap up the show 4 o'clock in Vegas, and we have to pack a lot of equipment, tons of wires, almost miles, it seems like, of audio cords and all of that, and then the tripods and all the equipment, and then get to the airport. I dropped everybody off at the terminal, and then I went back and turned in the rental car, and we started to see some flare-up about Florida State, Clemson, and the possibility that they're already in conversations with the Big 12. We had Brett Yormark on the show yesterday, and I asked him point blank, have you had any conversations with anyone else from another conference? And he said, what? No. He also later on mentioned that they have people, They have a guy that they're always at least monitoring what's going on, but he said they have not been in conversation with anybody that is from another conference. And you can take that as you want. That doesn't mean that there can't be, like, for example, a team contacts a player through an agent. So that goes on all the time, whether you're the Big 12 or anyone else.
So your mark has plausible deniability, but it doesn't mean that necessarily somebody else in the office hasn't talked to somebody at a school and they've at least like had a little convo, casually, just to, because I think we all understand at this point that type of stuff goes on. It doesn't necessarily lead anywhere or mean anything in the big picture, but I think it's safe to assume that any and every scenario is being explored through some type of at least lower level conversation by every school in America right now who's not feeling like they're, fully established.
Even those conferences that really don't care if they add anybody else, but they're also aware of the possibilities. So Ross Dellinger, who we've had on the show many, many times from Yahoo Sports, put this out. Just to clarify, my comments from a radio interview yesterday should be taken as speculation about possible realignment options and nothing more. The story was that there were at least preliminary discussions, Florida State, Clemson, and the Big 12. That was what was put out. John Kurtz did the interview, great friend of the show, does a great job covering K-State and the Big 12, but that's what then everyone started to run with.
Yeah, and I watched it. John's a good friend of the show. We said goodbye to him yesterday, as a matter of fact, when we were rolling out, or he was rolling out, vice versa, and, talked to him a couple times, and he does a really good job, but he did that interview, and I assume this is the one that he's talking about because that is where all the traction came from, where the talk was suddenly that, FSU and Clemson are having talks with the Big 12. And so on our way home last night, I listened, and I came away from it with the, translation pretty clear that what Ross was saying was if this and this and this and this all fall through, then there's a chance. And basically, like what I just said a moment ago, I think every school who has even the hint that they could wobble and go anywhere at some point in time is having, some level of a conversation or a chat at some level of their department. But, I don't even know that he said that was happening for sure, or was more saying that he thought that they could be happening. But either way, I walked away from it not feeling like this was anything that was like strongly happening or that was imminent by any means, because he was pretty clear in a later follow-up on a different podcast, as a matter of fact, with Wetzel and 40. I believe it's the College Football Inquirer. I listened to that on the way home last night as well, because I was curious after that started spreading like wildfire that FSU and Clemson are talking to the Big 12. I was curious when I saw that their podcast was updated that day of like, I wonder if they explored it. And plus, I was just interested to hear what they thought about Big 12 Media Days, and I think Ross was the only one that was there, actually. But
Wetzel wasn't there. I don't know about Pat Ford.
Yeah, I don't think he was there either. But Ross further got into it, and he basically let it be known that this was a possibility should they not get into the SEC, should they not get into the Big Ten, and even after, should they not just reform the ACC in some fashion? And that was even above the odds of them going to the Big 12. So at best, this was like, if scenarios A, B, C all fall through,
well, then
D would be the Big 12 and the possibility that they could go there. And that was the simplest way I can explain the message. And beyond that, there was all the speculation about what he said and how it should be taken. But that was pretty clear to me in listening that it was speculation.
It's like crack, realignment. I just put that up in the chat room. Ryan Wiley, by the way, in my opinion, the FSU Clemson to the Big 12 is a non-story until something actually happens. Otherwise,
I agree.
It is speculation.
Okay. I agree.
And
MC Gusto will get to your super chat, too.
Well, I don't know if we will.
Whoa!
MC Gusto.
I'll be giving out free
candy.
Yes. Behind the 365 studio if FSU and Clemson join.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, people do have a sweet tooth,
Yeah.
And by the way, I believe MC Gusto is a woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, okay. Hey, whatever.
All right, whatever, yeah.
Probably why the wording was the way that it was, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway.
Y'all are just trying to walk around landmines, aren't you? I can tell, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the Many people came up to me yesterday and asked me that about FSU and going to the Big 12. And every single one of them, I said, look, FSU and Clemson are not doing this to come to this league. And if they do, the deal they're going to have to make is going to be something that puts them on par with the SEC and Big 10, which means that either everybody in the Big 12 has to get that deal, which seems unlikely because they don't currently have it, or there is unequal revenue sharing, which the original teams from the Big 12 before the new 8 joined all dealt with before, with Texas and Oklahoma, and A&M and Nebraska all had unequal revenue sharing before they left. So they dealt with that before, and they want to move forward in an equitable fashion. So I don't know if that's a match. Now, look, if it gets down to the wire and the Big Ten and the SEC say no, then I guess that's what they have to do. But
well, no, the third option is still, I mean, according to Dellinger, would be trying to take the Magnificent Seven. They break away. They restart the TV contract basically with the biggest schools, which would be North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, I believe, Miami, FSU, Clemson. I think it's that arrangement, and maybe I've got like one off there, but the thought he had was, and again, as he pointed out and he clarified today, he was just speculating, but when he was talking on the podcast, like that option was above the Big 12 option, would be for them to break away, reform, and then have the better schools in a smaller league, but with the ability to make more money because they wouldn't be watered down by, having SMU, Cal, Stanford, as much as the conference has grown, and Notre Dame possibility as well, in that group, because obviously they could add some money to that pot as well. But that was the thought.
In other words, Paul, you're spitting at the Big 12 possibility.
I'm not spitting at it. It just doesn't make sense based on the facts that we
he's
know
got
now.
It doesn't. Like, it's greater than 0. I don't know that it's greater than 2%. So I think the whole fervor from yesterday is just way overblown. Yeah,
you would be disappointed if that happened.
Yes, he would.
Yeah, I would be a little bit, not totally. I mean, I'll tell you, not totally.
If it means you have a life raft.
Not totally. It just it doesn't make any sense to me based on everything we know about why this is happening.
Right.
So, that option about starting the other conference actually might be the easiest thing for them to do.
Could be.
Based on joining all the other ones. And I also don't believe anyone who says the Big Ten or SEC doesn't want them. Because the Big Ten and SEC don't have to say that they do or don't until they know that they're available. Because if they said, sources inside the Big Ten say that they're going after FSU and Clemson, well, they don't. Their case is, the case is still early. It's not, everybody thinks this case has been dragging on for 10 years. It's been 8 months.
No, let's put it this way. Florida State is annoying as hell.
Yes,
they
for
really,
sure.
They
for
really
sure.
are, ever since December. And by the way, rightfully so.
And I get it. If I was an FSU fan, I would feel the same way, I'm sure. But
what we don't want to do is end up running right down that road. But it was there. It was out there. John Kurtz with his podcast, Ross Dellinger, we've had on many times too, and wanted to make sure we put that up and clarified that to start the show.
Yeah, and shout out to John, and he does really good stuff. But, that was how I walked away, and so I was glad to see Dellinger follow up, because had he not, then we walk in the day and we're like, he said, what now? And there's nothing guardrailing that, but Ross did come out to clarify that because it did go so crazy with realignment, folks. Now, the theory of the Big 12 here, that for those who look into everything and feel like it's something that creates, another domino, how could the Big 12 possibly make this happen? Well, that's where the private equity conversation comes into play.
Sure.
But I have some problems with that because, as you mentioned, the first big one is you just got out of the Oklahoma-Texas era, and you're in this now, we're all equal age, and you are lacking blue bloods. So, in theory, you could use an FSU and Clemson who have a better shot to maybe go win a national title. But is it worth then going back to basically being in a Texas-Oklahoma scenario?
No.
And I don't see that being worth it.
No.
And that's what you would be looking at.
That's not necessarily what they'd have to do. I know Clemson and Florida State, among the others, they would bring something to the Big 12. Perhaps those schools don't think the Big 12 would bring much to them unless it was something where it's a safe spot. But go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to finish my point is so there's that part of it, and then there's the other part of it where there's no grant of rights. So yeah, that's great. You go and you do private equity and you get all this money and you're able to bring them in and maybe you pay them a bunch of money up front and they're there, but they're not going to sign a grant of rights because the moment the SEC or the Big Ten want them, they're going to go there. So you're not signing them up for like a 10-year, 20-year situation.
Why they're wanting to leave.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like, so even if you got them through unequal revenue sharing and private equity and all these strings you would have to pull, you still don't guarantee that they're with you for more than like a very small amount of time. And so I just don't know that. Point being, I don't know that juice is worth the squeeze in that scenario, and so that's why I'm just not really buying that right now. But I understand where they've got to land somewhere, and I'm with you. I've said this all along. I don't believe for a second the SEC or Big Ten are not interested when I see those. I don't care who it's from. I don't care if it's from the commissioner himself. I don't care if it's from whoever you want to name. I don't believe that for a second because if this world we're walking into is all about juicy matchups, you're telling me you're going to turn down having Florida State or Clemson playing Georgia and Texas and Oklahoma because you've already got the Carolinas? Like, I just, I don't believe that.
No. And look, on the chat room, Pluto 2363 says that FSU doesn't have a chance because they don't have the academic chops. They're not an AAU
That's
school.
The Big Ten combo, yeah.
That's the Big Ten combo. I'll tell you right now, I don't think that has anything to do with it once we get to the next phase.
Probably
I don't think
not.
it does. Because if it did, why is Stanford where they are?
Yeah.
Like, why is Stanford, who is the best academic school in the country and is also the one with the largest endowment. So if those two things don't matter, why is Stanford out in the cold?
It sort of sounds like college football playoff where to fit a narrative. It's like game control this week and then this. So, like the money matters. Oh, no, wait, it's the matchups. No, wait, it's the TV print. No, and so, I feel what you're saying there, and I'm on board that I think that there's a spot for those two. And, I won't change my mind on that until, proven otherwise, because I don't know how you turn down the matchups when we're entering the matchup era, and that's become quite clear.
The Big 12 would not turn down the opportunity to add some of those names from the ACC if that became available. Those schools would probably wait until they had nowhere else to go for that as an option. And again, that's not spitting or looking down at the Big 12. And I agree that if any of them do become available, the SEC and the Big 10, no matter what is said, reported, whatever, would be more than interested. Speaking of the SEC, Georgia. This has happened over the years in college athletics. Certain schools, and it doesn't mean it doesn't happen if you're not successful, because it does, but there are runs that schools have when they seem like that just something is like not getting across. In Georgia, with a couple of more players arrested on reckless driving charges. You know about the story, the tragedy of someone who was killed in they were racing car. This is happening too much. And again, I'm not trying to question Kirby Smart. What I'm questioning is we've seen other programs go through the gauntlet of stupid. And Georgia, with a couple of more players that obviously they love the young kids in a car. I get it, but it doesn't mean it's right. And it's going to end up with yet another story where somebody can't play football anymore, or they don't live anymore because they're street racing, which is part of like what the younger generation's doing these days.
Yeah, it doesn't make it.
They did that in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
the street racing's been going on forever.
But it's been a new fad because of TikTok. Apparently, has been big on people doing street racing TikToks. But
Ted is going. I'm going to sound so old because Facebook was the downfall of society, and then Twitter was the downfall of society. The internet was, MTV was. I'm now entered that area where TikTok is going to ruin us all. And I kind of believe that, yeah.
But I think I will criticize Kirby Smart here. Whatever you've done to stop this issue at your program specifically, this isn't like Kirby Smart can get it and be like, oh, there's a bunch of street racers. Like Rashee Rice, he didn't go here.
Yep.
That happened in Dallas. He plays for the Chiefs and went to SMU. No, Kirby, you have a huge problem with this that led to a tragedy, and you couldn't really discipline one of those guys because he was the second pick or third pick in the NFL draft, and Jordan Davis, wherever he was, up there in the top 10, to the Eagles. So you didn't really get to discipline him because he was all the way out the door. You guys had just won the national championship, so you tried to do the, in-house thing, but whatever you're doing is not working. You have a problem with your team that street racing is popular among your little clique of guys. So what you need to do is send a big message. And
because there'll be more of this.
What he's doing is not working.
No.
It's got to be a big message, either a massive suspension. I'm talking massive. 8 games, something like that, or gone.
For street racing?
Yeah, because here's the thing. If Smale Munden and the other guy who got it, and Munden's a really good linebacker. He's going to be one of their better defensive players. If they kick him off the team for street racing, which is a felony, by the way, when you get caught. So if they kick him off the team for that sends the message.
They're not going to do that, though.
But they're not. No,
they're not going to do that.
No, they're not. But I don't think they are. But that sends the message. Or if you're going to make sure 4 games to me after what's happened at Georgia, even though maybe these guys weren't street racing, but a bunch of other guys at Georgia were street racing, and a bunch of other guys have had problems. If he's either not addressed that properly or they don't get it.
So you're going to tell me that they should suspend a guy for street racing. I understand that there seems to be an issue, and Ollie Gordon won't serve 1 game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how many DUIs are happening with the Oklahoma State football program. I'm just telling you that this individual program clearly has a problem and needs to do something about it.
Yeah, see, I understand where you're coming from with that, but I also don't think Mike Gundy is the standard when it comes to necessarily after his comments being the voice of, drinking and driving punishments and all of that. I think he took himself out of that running the last couple of days. So there will be those Georgia fans that are like, we're talking about the dogs and everybody's obsessed with us. And it's like, dude, if this happened once or twice, I don't think anybody would blink an eye. But there is a person who lost their life at one point, and there's been like 10 incidents in the last year, or the last year and a half, 2 years. And they vary in degrees of severity. Some of it's just really fast driving. Some of it's street racing. Some of it's DUI. Some of it's somebody dying. And I just think when you've had that amount of instances, why would you not, forget anybody criticizing you and think, well, they're an Alabama fan. There's, just as a human being, aren't y'all a little worried this is happening a dozen times in the last 2 years?
I bet there's a lot of discussions going on.
Okay.
Street racing is a felony.
Yeah. It's reckless driving.
I'm not trying to be like Mike Gundy.
I understand who I'm talking to here.
And we do have a guest here. I'm not trying to be Mike Gundy here.
Yes.
But you're talking about drag racing.
Reckless driving. Okay. Drag racing is a felony if it can be a felony.
I mean, I can be an angry guy.
Yeah.
I can have road rage.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask everybody, how many incidents do you think that there have been?
At Georgia,
how many?
And what time frame?
Since January 2023, since the accident.
I'd say 10.
I'm going to say 6.
Garrett, how many?
Probably about 12.
Does this include speeding tickets?
Driving-related incidents.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
19 driving-related incidents.
Yeah. Well, how many are how many of them are the same person, same car, and they have 3?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just Yahoo's
because you could have reckless
it,
driving, speeding.
But look, clearly they've got a problem, a driving problem at the Georgia Bulldogs.
And every time they do it, and then what it becomes is it becomes a question, and Kirby Smart will handle it well, but it becomes a distraction.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
Well, he hasn't handled it at all yet. That's the thing.
Well, we don't know what he's saying to them, but whatever he's saying to them, it's not working. All right, one more story. We got to get to a break. There was another ruling today when it comes to the NCAA and a lawsuit. We'll get to that later. But the SEC, here is the official airline of the SEC with now Oklahoma and Texas. But, hey, we just flew Southwest into Las Vegas. We fly Southwest quite a bit thanks to Alan Samuels' House of Travel, but they are now the official airline of the Southeastern Conference. And there's a lot of the games that will be played.
Yeah,
that will,
adding roots to the...
Yep. So there we are with that.
Yeah, I mean, those were some pretty big games from that glance there. And, yeah, that's a cool sponsorship. I mean, that's a good little deal. Yeah, thanks, Garrett, for putting it back.
I think that could have easily have been the Big 12 brand.
They're just not... I mean, that's the thing about the SEC is they're so well put together geographically. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is losing the plot there, and I get why they have to. Like the Big 12 couldn't go grab Rice instead of BYU, and have made up the difference there. So they couldn't just stay in their little pod. And they already weren't in a pod when you had West Virginia out on an island. And now you've gone from basically close to coast. But the SEC is the one, because the Big Ten, jumped into the waters out west. They're the ones that are basically all situated in the same bottom right corner of the continental U.S. So, yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense for them. I think that's one of their big pluses, is that it's put together. They still are the ones able to maintain that regionality, which is what people are crying for when it comes to realignment talk. Is they want to go back to the Pac-12 now, right? And they want to go back to the Southwest Conference and things like that. But we're heading in different directions. And that's the thing about the Clemson FSU thing of like, well, they don't want them. They've already got South Carolina. They don't need Clemson. Because, yeah, Lord knows South Carolina, okay, if we're talking women's basketball, they've been better. I'm sure there's some other sports, but why would you not want to just further build that imprint of having Florida and Florida State and South Carolina and Clemson, because you maintain the regionality, you also add two killer rivalries, and then you create a bunch of other possible big matchups.
If it was about states that they had and didn't have, Texas wouldn't be in the league. And you could kick out Mississippi State and Auburn.
Right. Craig, you want to finish what you were saying?
I just think that that's right, something that is, kind of talked about with the whole, like, well, we wouldn't want them because of this. And, yeah, you're right. I mean, Texas is an exception because I think they're such a monster brand that you'd add them no matter – I mean, if it was the Alaska League, you'd add Texas to it. But, yeah, you wouldn't have two in Mississippi and two in Alabama. And, but you don't want to do that and two in Texas. But you don't want to do that – two in Tennessee. You got Vandy in Tennessee. So there's precedent there.
Well, you're out, nerds.
Yeah.
We can only have one per state.
I always thought when I first saw the story about the All-State Big 12, whatever they end up calling it, and Brett Yormark said yesterday that doesn't mean All-State won't end up with it, but they all are looking at the different options. That Southwest Airlines would have been a perfect name to name the Big 12.
Well, now it's the Southwest Eastern Conference? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to change the SWEC?
Yeah, well, since part of the Southwest Conference is in the SEC with Arkansas, A&M, and Texas, it does have a little bit of ring to it. All right, the Dundies, Big 12 and SEC are the only conferences that are in 3 or less time zones. Because the Big 10 has
they're coast to coast. Mountain.
Wait. No,
they don't have mountain. They don't.
And then they have Central and Eastern. There's nobody that I know of in the Mountain Time. In the Big 12, you have the Mountain Time.
Right.
Because of Utah, BYU. We were there basically in a weird time, 2 different hours, and, of course, with Arizona and Arizona State. All right, well, there's a lot more to get to, including that ruling Johnson against the NCAA, what that actually means. That's coming up a little bit later on. Thank you. It's great to be back in the studio. I slept like a baby for about 4.5 hours when I finally got to bed around 3:30 or so, and it was great to be back in the great state of Texas. Thanks for those of you in the chat already. And if you don't mind, hit the like and subscribe button. We're back. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, next on 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Robinson, Texas. Dr. Steve Childress is my dentist. I'm proud to say that because I've had dentists over my lifetime, and they all tried to do whatever they possibly do to help me with my dental work and dental hygienist as far as helping me have the hygiene so I wouldn't need to go to the dentist except for cleaning. And then I kind of got sloppy along the way. Had some bad habits with sweets, lozenges, things like that. So Dr. Steve Childress sat down with me, and he'd fix this or he'd fix that. There's a root canal. There's a chipped tooth. And he finally just sat down with me and goes, man, let's talk. What the hell are you doing? Why do you have so much like decay or cavities in your mouth? And I told him about a habit of lozenges. And I occasionally might pop 1 or 2 of them if I feel like my throat's getting sore. That was creating my problem. We created a game plan. We went over it. We're going about our business with that, and that's what he can do for you. If you are scared to go to the dentist because you know you have bad habits, go to see Dr. Steve Childress, Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Celebrate American quality and value during the Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr. Drive the best. Get professional-grade power and first-class interior in a GMC Sierra. Qualified buyers save $9,000 on all 2024 GMC Sierra SLT models in stock with qualified trade-in. Military and first responders save an extra $500. Plus, find Red, White, and Blue savings tags on vehicles all over the lot. Drive home American quality and value during our Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr GMC.
Richard Carr. They have the truck for you.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier elite life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Offering over 50 group exercise classes every week, including boot camp, bar, silver sneakers, and 10 cycling classes with morning and evening classes available. New state-of-the-art bikes that allow you to compete against yourself with a screen monitoring your speed, miles, resistance, and power. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Botch, and Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow, losing inches in weight the right way. There's a kids club included with your membership, plus sauna and tanning bed. 16 tennis courts, plus a beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman and assistant junior pro Kenna. Adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and the commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website at wacotennis.com next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. They're on the front setup. I'm over here. They're Vanna White. I guess I am. Who?
Pat Sajak. Well, I guess it would now be Ryan Seacrest.
Yes, that's right. That change is made. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, joins us on 365 Sports. So did you kind of look and get a feel from a few of the storylines coming out of Vegas the last couple of days in the Big 12? And if yes, anything that maybe popped your attention a little bit more than others?
No, nothing in particular. This is our busy time of year. July, it's dead period. So I'm literally in between flights right now, whether it's NFL or college football. This is go time. But I wouldn't mind weighing in on some storylines. What are we talking about, Dave?
Listen, one of the things I saw last night was Dion telling recruits that if they want to commit to Colorado, to be prepared to have their rankings dropped. What were your thoughts about that one?
Be prepared to have. So Dion's complaining that Colorado players are being targeted, and they're actually better players than the rankings. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, the quarterback is what, Julian Lewis?
Okay. So Well, let me tell you my immediate reaction to hearing that. That tells me if this team wins above expectations, and I think right now their total is what, 5.5?
Mm-hmm.
It's not coaching. That's my recruits that are under-recruited. We didn't coach them up. They were underranked. See, and to me, a guy who says my guys are being underranked doesn't care about his coaching staff, doesn't care about coaching them up. He cares about the perception of him as a recruiter, because you know what an AD is not going to do? AD is not going to hire a guy that people go, oh, he doesn't improve recruiting. He's not that good of a recruiter. It's all flash, all shine, no substance. So to me, when he's complaining about that, he's trying to set himself up for a better job. He's not here saying, hey, I got a good staff. I don't care what you rank my guys. We're going to out-coach everybody in the Big 12. No. It's about him and the perception he has on how he recruits. Sounds like a completely selfish way to go.
He also said that they are prepared to dominate. Dave, and look, this is your realm of expertise, but I still think he's got to get some continuity in the coaching staff a little bit more before we go to dominate.
I don't. When the last time Colorado dominated, they were a top 25 recruiter at the turn of the century, man. Right? I mean, Ryan Seacrest wasn't even born at that time. So, Colorado, you look at this schedule. Let's just start with the staffing, though. Before I even get into the schedule, let's start with the staffing, okay? You got a new defensive coordinator who isn't very good. You've got a offensive coordinator that's never called plays at college football. But, as I said a minute ago, we do NFL staffing as well. We've graded every guy who's taken the field on an NFL franchise for the last 25 years, since 2000. Pat Shurmur is a bottom 5. There have been 108 offensive coordinators in the NFL since 2000. Pat Shurmur is bottom 5 of 108. Okay? Sanders has to be unbelievable Superman to carry this team anywhere. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, you want to talk about dominate? I think that's projection. Let's go the other way. How about being dominated? You lose to North Dakota State. You got one of the worst coaching staffs in college football. You have one of the worst recruiting profiles in the Big 12 and college football. I think they're closer to 0-12 than 12-0.
Dave, speaking of coaches, what do you think of the new look Big 12? Now Kyle Whittingham getting into a league with guys like Chris Kleiman and Lance Leipold and Mike Gundy, and you can go on as far as the list goes. But, there's a lot of talk about the third or fourth best conference, this and that. But I think coaching-wise, it's a pretty interesting 16-team league.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a coaching league, right? Because you only have one top 30 recruiter, Utah, and that's about it. And so the rest of it, to me, it is coaching dominated versus player dominated, like the SEC, to a point, who has 10 of the top 20 recruiters in the country. So, yeah, it's intriguing, and it is fascinating from a coaching standpoint about who's really going to put it together this year. I was looking at the schedule, and I just think it's just absolutely wide open.
Now, with that, the coaching's really good. Pretty much across the board. There's some intriguing up-and-comers as well, like Kenny Dillingham. But that part you said there about the talent deficiency in comparison, how much do you think that does hurt and will potentially hurt a league like the Big 12 moving forward in this expanded playoff era?
I just think just going forward, it's going to play a big factor with it. And I think there's a lot of guys. You mentioned Dillingham, dude. There's his staff. He's a long ways from being competitive as well. So, when I look at it, I just don't see any programs that are going to break into the top 25 consistently in recruiting. None of them really have in the past. And so I think looking forward, this is the way it's going to be. Now, does that mean the teams are worse? No, you're still going to get 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 teams. They're not going to have the recruiting profile. These teams are just going to have to be coached up. And what was it? I think Brett was saying this is, from top to bottom, from a competitive standpoint, the most interesting league in college football. 100% back that up, right? Because you look at all these teams outside of Utah, huge coaching continuity, really good staff. the top talent in the conference, but not blow away talent. And then everybody else, I mean, you can make a case for just about, anybody to go 9-3, 10-2. And that's what I think is most fascinating about the Big 12 Conference is whatever happens this year probably isn't going to happen the very next year. But a lot of it's just going to be dependent on having continuity in that coaching staff.
Dave, which of the 4 autonomy conferences, in your opinion, if a team goes 10-3, maybe even 11-2, although that would be hard to not include them, will not get that team in?
That depends on a lot of things. It's just not that simple. 11-2, you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, you're in. That's the bottom line. But this may really surprise a lot of people. 10 wins does not guarantee you squat. Okay? Power 5 teams. Now, we've only lost 2 Power 5 teams. We lost Oregon State and Washington State. Everybody else really has the same schedule. Different teams, but Cal still has 9 conference games. Baylor still has 9 conference games. Oregon, Washington, they still have 9. Okay? Nothing's changed there. And so in the last 10 years of playoff committee, and look, they said the rules of ranking aren't going to change. So in the last 10 years, we have had 6 teams go 10-2, not make the Final 12. We've had 8 teams go 10-3, not make the Final 12. We've had 3 teams go 10-2, go to their conference game, get beat, and fall out of the top 12. That's gonna be the one that drives people absolutely nuts. Is you miss the playoff bracket because you got smoked in a conference game like a bunch of other teams would. But that means there's been 14 times we're 10-2, 10-3 in the last 10 years. So every year, 1.5 teams, 10-2 or 10-3, are going to miss out. Now, which way would I go with that? I think a lot of it is going to depend on your non-conference schedule. Did you beat teams that are good? Because most of the teams are going to be pretty even conference-wise. And if you look at the numbers across the board, it's pretty much a mishmash. When you get down to 9-3, I think you are going to see the SEC strongly favored there. Okay, but keep in mind, folks, 9-3. There's been 36 Power 5 teams ranked 9-3 in the last 10 years. 36. 3 of them would have made a 12-team bracket. 3. So 9-3 guarantees absolutely nothing, and I'd bet on the SEC, and I think you guys would too. But as far as 10 wins, it absolutely doesn't guarantee you there, and I don't know how they are going to take a look at that because there's a lot of factors when they're ranking these teams. It's just not automatically the SEC because, look, a quality win is just as good, it gets balanced out by a bad loss. And I think in the SEC, with the talent differential from top to bottom, you're going to see a lot more blowouts. So a team that goes 10-2, 10-3, but has blowouts on their resume is going to get knocked down more than teams losing close.
Dave, when you look at the Big Ten and what they've done now that with their 18-team league, now they're very top-heavy, and they have been for a long time. If Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State regularly at the top. Now, Penn State has yet to break through to the playoff, but they seem the team that's going to benefit the most in that conference from there being 12 teams and not 4 available to go. But do you think it's a deep league talent-wise comparable to the SEC, or are they just on volume right now?
No. That's not comparable with the SEC. Remember what I said a couple minutes ago? The SEC has 10 of the top 20 recruiters in college football. 10 of them. Everybody else has 10. And one of those is Notre Dame. So the other 3 conferences have 9 top 20 recruiters. The SEC has 10. So, no, it's not a close competition. I think people like to match up Oregon and Washington and and Ohio State and Penn State and go, man, they can go toe-to-toe with the top of the SEC. Sure. But what about that 15, that 16, that 17? Vanderbilt is the worst recruiter in the SEC. They're 37. The Big Ten has 5 recruiters outside the top 45.
Dave, you're an Oregon guy. What do you think of the Ducks and company joining? I know that's got to be probably bittersweet the way that the pack ended and ended, really kind of abruptly in the grand scheme of things. But what are your thoughts on this new era of the West Coast split and the Ducks, among others? How do you think they fend off competition in the Big Ten?
No, they're going to be fine. They're a top 5 recruiter, top 10 recruiter. I couldn't have written a better schedule for them. Seriously, if you said, Dave, write your best possible schedule for the Ducks and play Ohio State, this would be it. It is absolutely a gift. This team, if it doesn't make the playoffs, just blew this season. Complete joke on that one. But from a fan standpoint, dude, outside of going to Eugene, the next closest football game I can go to in the Big Ten is Washington, 4.5-hour drive. And then it's L.A., 1,200 miles away. Those are my two closest games. And then my third closest is bloody Nebraska, 2 time zones away. I might as well come down and see you guys and do a show live.
Hey, you're welcome.
Anytime you want, Dave.
Yeah, we'll be here waiting for you. When you go to Lincoln, let me know. Obviously, and now as far as
that Rutgers trip is going to be awesome whenever you take that game. By the way, I don't know how many miles that is, but that's going to be great.
It's like Cal Wake Forest, although those two are academically, but still, just the fact that might be a game. Dave, what Dave Aranda had to do. We understand he's on the clock. He is on the proverbial hot seat, but he changed his staff up and coordinators. He's done that before multiple times based on what he's done. With him now the defensive coordinator, Spavital offensive coordinator, even with analysts with Gary Patterson, can you kind of give us an idea about the upgrade of his staff, if that's the word you would use?
That is the word I would use. Overall, in our numbers, his total staff upgrade, including the performance of last year, is up 3.61%. Look, Dave Aranda, when he went to LSU, me and my data partner were like, he's going to walk away from LSU with a ring and a head coach job. That's how good of a defensive coordinator is. Top 10 probably in the last 10 years. So if you can get a Dave Aranda defense, that would be awesome. Spavital, underrated. Totally underrated. He's a 4-star offensive coordinator. I love the hire, bringing him back to Texas. People don't realize it because Cal sucks, but he turned around a crap offense last year from really bad to at least decent. So in a league where coaching matters, I'm looking at a team that last year was 117th in defensive scoring efficiency, 113th in offensive scoring efficiency, and go, man, can they flip it good enough to get to 500? Because right now Vegas has them at 5.5. Right? And so I look at Dave and I look at Jake and I'm like, yeah, they could do it. These are the offensive and defensive coordinator combination for Baylor is very, very, very good. Those two guys just stand alone. Put them on any team in college football. That is an excellent combo. Now, can they turn it around enough after the dismalness of last year? I don't know, but I mean, you look at the schedule, the first 5, you're at Utah, but 4 of your first 5, 3 of them are at home, and you're playing 4 teams that you out-recruit, right? I think we're going to know if this is turned around decently enough by October 1st, right? If you get the win against Tarleton, you get the win against the Air Force Academy, you go to Colorado and get a W. We're looking at 6-6, turning the boat around, probably, like you said, probably off the hot seat, getting this thing in the right direction, but yeah, you're right. Ironically, it is an absolute come to Jesus year in Waco.
Dave, how have your metrics changed or added in with the transfer portal? Because when it's kind of a different thing when you're talking about guys who have already played college football as opposed to the guys who haven't yet.
Yeah, they haven't changed. In fact, I did an experiment last year. I only used high school recruiting rankings as my composite. Now, I've been doing the composite before 247 came out with it. They just grabbed the name of it and ran with it and made it super popular. But I've been doing it since 2008, and I factored in only high school guys last year. No transfers, because I think overuse of the transfer portal is bad. I don't think transfers as a whole are very good. Maybe you get a diamond quarterback, but overall, you look at the NFL, abuse of free agency, you lose more football games. Period. It's almost linear. The teams that use free agency the most lose the most football games. So I look at college football like Deion. I think he's doing it absolutely backwards. I'd rather be Dabo and not take a damn transfer than to take all transfers. So last year, using only high school recruiting, preseason, I said, I'm just going to pick the best 4-year high school recruiter to win every single game. They won 72% of them last year. That is the highest number I've seen in 15 years. Don't fall in love with the transfer portal, folks. You're going to pay your guys, pay them early, keep them on board, coaching continuity, player continuity. I think that's more important. Maybe you fill a little bit with the transfer portal, but I think if you abuse it, not only does it hurt you short term, your long term high school recruiting gets hurt because you're not talking to enough guys.
Yesterday, Dave Aranda was with us at Big 12 Media Days, and Craig asked him a question because they've been on a pretty good little run because it has been it's been tough the last couple of years, and a lot of it because of what we've seen with their win-loss record. But they've been on a pretty nice little run, and they have some new coaches that are doing a hell of a job, like Keenan Hall, et cetera. And Craig goes, "Why the uptick? Why is recruiting got into a nice little run?" And he did not blink, Dave, and said, "We're paying our players. We're paying the players."
Free agency.
He's like,
Stop using.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Stop using the word NIL. You're embarrassing everybody. NIL is for somebody who promotes a product right off of their name, image, likeness. They're an influencer. If you're just paying a player to play football, that's called free agency. Call it what it is. Quit messing around with this. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me it's something else. And so, yeah. That's it. The tough thing is now, how do you manage it relative to everybody else so you are not putting your money in the wrong place? Again, I think it goes back to you don't pay a lot of money for transfers, especially everybody listening. You get a transfer down. You get a guy who is coming out of a big school where everything's shiny and everything's paid for. You take a transfer from Ohio State. You take a transfer from Oregon or Texas or Florida, somewhere where it's a perceived downgrade. Those guys are failures almost 99% of the time. Even at the NFL, you look at the NFL level, there's transfer guys everywhere, but the guys who transfer down to easier competition almost invariably fail at the NFL. So when you're looking at these transfers, give me the guy that's hungry, right? Give me the guy that wants to come up from somewhere else and compete, not the guy that's fallen down.
It's always great, Dave. Tell everybody the College Football Matrix. For those who have not heard you before, or for whatever reason they've been under a rock and they don't follow you, tell everybody what business you have created and why it is so special.
Well, I do this. The radio is for fun, right? Because I love telling stories with numbers. But what we do is we staff college football and the NFL. That's what we've been doing now for half a decade. Fans listening right now, you would be amazed and not surprised at all the teams that we have helped turned around at both levels from a coaching standpoint. So it's a very small niche, little kind of thing we do. It's off-field analytics, but staffing is what we do to butter the bread.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Always great to have you on. Dave Bartoo with us from College Football Matrix on. And yeah, it's a great follow if you don't.
Oh yeah, and it is. You heard him. He's giving you the numbers, and recruiting numbers can get kind of skewed because you look at.
Yep.
I do like the way you can look at it and say that you've got schools that have top 20 recruiters, not recruits. So.
Yeah, I mean it's a good another piece of information to have and another voice to kind of break down all of the information that can kind of be hard to parse through sometimes. So taking a look at like the recruiters in particular, as Paul said, rather than a program, is an interesting approach that gets you a little bit more in depth. And obviously there is a talent disparity. There's a couple of leagues, one in particular, because I sometimes feel like we just piggyback the Big Ten with the SEC on a lot of things just because but they're not the same.
Because of television revenue.
Yeah, but they're not the same. And so,
size of schools.
Yeah, I think obviously the Big Ten will benefit from having Dylan Gabriel in the league now and all that comes with Oregon. If Evan Stewart blows up and becomes the star that, people feel like he can be after not amounting to, what A&M fans thought he could be there under Jimbo, and on and on. The Washington, USC, UCLA talents as well that will come through. They're definitely going to add a nice punch. But the SEC, surprise, surprise, guys, they're number one in something else. It's like get the usual cheerleaders to go spread the word, but it's that's the way that it is. That's the way it's going to be, and it's hard to see that disrupted anytime soon. And because of that. Because of the fact that they lopsidedly have the greatest amount of talent even though they didn't win the national title last year, Michigan did, they are going to, be the favorites and have the most contenders, I think, year in and year out. And I don't really know what's going to prevent that. So I think it just speaks to, what he's laying out there. It speaks to that and the reality that there is a big talent disparity that's going to be hard for other leagues and teams to overcome for the most part. And so you're going to have to find ways to break through. And for teams in the Big 12, it could be more of just the coaching factor that gets you over the hump on occasion. But I do think there's going to be a lot of parity. That's the word with the Big 12, right? I do think there's going to be a lot of parity with that league. And I am fascinated to see this first year of the college football playoff, how this committee goes about breaking it down. And I'm just looking forward to the year in general. But, can the Big 12 or the ACC make a bigger dent than we're possibly expecting?
Well, it does come down to who you get on your roster, we don't do a lot of recruiting. We've had a player or two that's committed to Baylor. We'll mention a commitment. Chasten Brown from out of Georgia, a 4-star offensive lineman, recently, like sometime today, committed to UCF. A 4-star guy. Again, nice. You never know, but that's a nice get for them. And Gus Malzahn and UCF on a pretty good little run. We've talked about a couple of other schools on a nice run, so wanted to mention that. And thanks also to Joel, who sent that note to us in the text line area, which is 254-339-1122. When we come back, Rich Clark is the new executive director of the College Football Playoff. He stopped by our location yesterday and discussed his role replacing Bill Hancock, who I think we as a show got kind of tired of. Bill, at times, we've had some good interviews. We also have had some quotes from him about when we mentioned about if this breakaway, there was arrogance there.
It's smug.
Yes. He's very smug.
Very
smug. And
about
by the way, he might be right, though. In the end,
I think he would have a greater insight than we would, considering he's part of the crew pulling strings behind the scenes. But, it wasn't, maybe we caught him on a bad day. I don't think so. I think that was just kind of how he normally was. But it was very smug, and that rubbed us the wrong way. We appreciated the time, though. But it put a bad taste in your mouth. And when you're already kind of viewing it, because we're not viewing it from, like, the SEC or the Big Ten angle necessarily. When you're viewing it from fighting from underneath, the underdog look, it was very discouraging because he basically stomped all over that idea.
Look, and I wasn't there for that one. I was getting engaged, I think, when you did that one. And what he said was, you asked him, okay, if it goes to just those two leagues, are you worried that people won't watch because their teams are going to be excluded? He's like, no, no, you're going to watch what I tell you to watch. And maybe he's right. It's just not something like, oh, so you're going to tell me that you're going to bank on the fact that they're all coming with you no matter what, and you're that confident in that? Maybe I would reach out to the fans and say that more, but...
Well, I do think that if you are having all of the biggest teams play each other, that as opposed to it being... Who am I going to piss off here? Iowa State. If it's Michigan instead, that, you don't worry about Ames not tuning in because you know that everywhere else is going to be tuned in because it's Michigan rather than, and so I do think he's probably on to something and he's probably right, but I don't know. I feel like with all the changes, there is the risk that there are fans that drop off. I just don't know, to his point, if it would be enough to make a dent that would really make you feel it if they're them as we enter this super matchup era. So, he was just, it was the way he delivered the message that it was just very, I don't know, it's very disconcerting and just kind of, like I said, smug, if you're not looking at it through the typical glasses of people who are going to have the benefit of the doubt.
My thought on it, though, is it's just a risky thing to do because if I was running for president this year and I went to Wyoming and I was there at a campaign stop and somebody said, why should we vote for you? I'm like, really? I don't give a crap, Wyoming. Don't vote for me. Whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Do what you want. Yeah. You know why? Because I've got Colorado and they're way cooler.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? That to me is just why risk it? And be like, you know what? The people of Wyoming are great. I love them. We're going to fight for you. As opposed to what do you think about Kansas State fans that'll be upset? We don't really care about them anyway. I mean,
we got a break.
At least it's honest.
4 o'clock hour. Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff. Craig with Off the Radar today. And then also Zach Gelb, CBS Sports, who does a lot of NFL, a lot of pro sports, but also always very much entrenched in college football coverage. He'll join us. He's on his way to the Poconos on vacation after his show ends today at 5 our time. He'll join us on his drive up into a vacation, beautiful area. This is 365 Sports.
Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com. From their pasture to your plate, premium quality Texas farm-raised beef. Samantha, you've had more and more online auctions, and you have another one coming up in the middle of this month.
On July 17th, that will open our next steak auction, and it closes the next day on July 18th. About 48 hours of tomahawk, New York strip, flat iron, ground beef, both Angus and Wagyu. It's a lot of fun to get on. You just get on to bidonbeef.com, create an account, and it'll walk you through all the steps that you have to do in order to bid. Everything ships for free nationwide in the lower 48 states.
The flat iron steak to me is underrated. Fajitas, it tastes so good.
The flat iron is my absolute favorite. And then, of course, your tomahawk, that's just a showstopper. It's something exciting to put on the grill for everybody to see. Each steak is about anywhere from 3 to 4 pounds. I'm telling you what, it'll feed pretty much a whole family. A 4-pound tomahawk feeds the 6 of us.
The 48 states ship free. Go to TexasBeefHouse.com. Again, premium quality Texas farm-raised beef, Wagyu, Angus. It is amazing. July 17th and 18th, tomahawk, New York strip, flat iron, ground beef, Angus, and Wagyu. You really are doing these auctions more and more frequently.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of great feedback. A lot of people love to get online. The ending is what we call a horse race finish. So at 6 p.m. when the auction ends, if anybody has been bidding in that last 2 minutes, it keeps the auction open for 2 more minutes, and that continues until all bidding has stopped. So that's kind of the exciting thing to watch at the very end is, the timer reset because people are getting on there and they're making sure that they're getting that lot that they want. So this is your best bet to get the best price. And it's a price that you want to pay, not what we're setting the price. And you're getting it in bulk. So you're getting more than just one package of steaks. You're getting, depending on which lot, anywhere from 4 to 8 packages of steaks.
Go to TexasBeefHouse.com, July 17th and 18th, the auction. And you can find much more information. Bidonbeef.com. And don't forget the discount if you put hashtag Sick'em365.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Rich Clark, College Football Playoff Executive Director. And my goodness, it's a constant, thing about the playoff. It's like they haven't even gotten to 12 yet, which you will, and we're already discussing maybe what it's like afterwards. Your thought, first of all, taking over this opportunity, and do you see ways you can improve on it, and what are some of those ideas?
Well, first, thanks for having me, David. I appreciate that. I'll be honest, right now, there's a lot of ideas out there and a lot of things that are floating around. What we really need to do is make this playoff spectacular. And it needs to be where people are just like, holy mackerel. Never imagined it could be this good. And then go, now how do we make it better? How do we take it to the next level? Because, sometimes you can do things that mess up a good thing, and we don't want to do that. So the focus right now, make this playoff 2025 champ game and the playoff that leads into it, make it amazing.
One of the things that has been a problem in college football for a long time, and as a fan, I'm sure you know this, is that the fans say, we want this thing. And then the powers that be are like, no. And that, I think, created a lot of tension around the playoff in particular, especially when it was just 4 teams. Do you feel that with the 12-team playoff and looking at different ways to do it finally, that your office, that commissioners, that everybody is finally hearing, oh, we need to serve our customers a little better?
Absolutely. And I think, to be honest, I don't know this because I wasn't in the discussions all the leading up to this, but I think the commissioners heard it and they realized we need to make a change here. But they have to think through it very methodically, and they did, because there's just things that, even me, the average fan doesn't understand about some of the inner workings and some of the drawbacks that might come from doing it a certain way. But I felt like they really thought through it well to come up with something good. And I will say, I believe, and just understanding where our commissioners' heads are, after the playoff is done, they will get feedback, and they're going to listen to it, and they're going to make decisions based on it. Not that they're going to do everything that they hear from the fan, but they're going to take that into account. They have to. Without fan support, where are we?
I'm not sure how much of a college football fan Lieutenant General Richard Clark was growing up, but I know for everybody who was a college football fan up until a few years ago, the idea of a playoff was just like, it's never going to happen. We're never going to get there. Not only are we there, it's expanding now. Could a younger you have foreseen this whole scenario, and it's obviously where we are now as a sport?
I could not have foreseen this as a younger me, and I'll tell you this: when I played football at the Air Force Academy, our senior year, we were 12-1. We were ranked number 8. We'd have been in the playoff.
Yeah.
We'd have been playing.
Yep.
And there was nothing more than to have an opportunity to play for a national championship, because we were actually being considered for that, because we were at one point we were 11-0. And they were going, Air Force could be considered for the national championship. It was done differently back then. It was all, the voting and everything.
Right.
But if this was alive back then, as a student athlete, it would have been a total game changer. No pun intended, but it would have been amazing. Now that we're finally here, though, I think student athletes, fans, and everybody are going to get what they deserve. And have the opportunity to actually crown a true champion like other sports do.
Well, and they have it set up where 4 conference champions, and then group of 5, and then after that, let's just see what happens.
Can I say one thing? It's not actually
the 4 highest ranked.
Yeah, it's the 4 highest ranked
conference champions.
The 5 highest ranked conference champions. A group of 5 team, if we're going to use that term, could actually be the 3rd ranked champion. So it's the 5 highest ranked
there is
champions.
inclusion, and there's a chance. And so when everyone starts working out and practicing in August, there's a chance Air Force, Boise State, whoever, feel like they have a chance, when really in the last few years they don't. They know reality.
You hit the nail on the head. I got a shot. So you're saying there's a chance here. and that means everything. You can dream big, and you can strive and set your sights high, and that's what this gives.
Do you are these meetings that you've had, are they contentious? Are they when the people debate over what should it be, how does it work through? Because there are people that are passionate about the way that they want things done, or that the way they envision it, and then coming to that middle ground and everything is the hard part, right? To figure out what you're really going to do.
Yeah, so the ones that I've seen and been involved in, I will say there are points of contention for sure, like in any other hard decision, right? But I do feel like people listen. People are able to put their ideas out on the table, and a lot of times the commissioners won't come to a decision, and they're okay to say, okay, let's table that. There's enough contention here that we need to put that on the table, think it through, war game it, whatever we got to do, but let's not rush to failure. Let's not rush to a bad decision. And so I've been very impressed with the way they go about their decision making. So collegial group, but there's bigger voices in the room, and just by personality or by just you stand where you sit, right? So, but I've been very impressed with how they come to decisions.
So the format is set, and we know how teams will qualify and all of that. So what's the major conversation kind of revolve around for the playoff right now in terms of just getting ready for that, and kind of what do you guys now focus on now that that's all set?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the format is set. One of the big unknowns is the first round, right? Because we haven't done it. We've played the bowl games. The bowl games are brilliant at for the quarters and the semis. They're brilliant at operating a game. We've done a champ game. We've never done those campus games where seeds 5 through 8 are going to have the home team advantage there. So that I wouldn't say it's an unknown, but it's something that we want to make sure we get that right, and that we're lead turning that, and we're talking to all of the schools. There's 134 FBS teams, and we want all of them to know there's a chance that you could be, hosting a game and be the home team. So we want to set some parameters right now so they can start thinking about things and understand what would be expected of them. And then as the season goes, that herd will narrow down, and then we can start focusing more on the more likely teams that would have to host a game.
Went off that on the home games, and I know you just said that the Bulls do a great job, but is there a world in which could be envisioned that more people want home games? Like those first 4 seeds aren't going to get a home game, and if I'm Michigan and I look at Ohio State getting a home game in the first round, I'll be like, well, I want some of that too.
Yeah.
And that expanding out, and then the Bowls being a kind of a different thing, and also asking fans not to be at a home site, which is easy for them to do, and to go to multiple sites that are away, that are third-party kind of things. Does that maybe morph into the future as you see how the host sites go early on?
Well, I'll say we shouldn't take anything off the table, right? And we have to evaluate and see how this goes. Our bowl partners are important to us, though, and this is just Rich talking. This is nobody else, but I'm a bit old school. I think the Bulls bring such a richness to college football. I love the idea of having the bowl partners involved in this, but we have to see how it goes and see how it evolves. But right now, I think we're in a pretty good place, and we found a pretty good balance with our bowl partners really putting on these spectacular games and preparing those first round host sites for what they might have coming.
Those home playoff games are going to be insane.
Yeah,
like those are. I think that's going to be the coolest thing.
Yeah,
I think that might be other than just the greater access, I think that might be my favorite new wrinkle, is just knowing that Oklahoma's hosting North Carolina or whoever in Norman to move on to the next. I just think that's going to be the coolest thing ever.
It's going to be great. It's going to kick us off, but we just want to make sure that every team is putting their best foot, every institution, for the host site are putting their best foot forward, and that we're doing everything we can to help them to make it spectacular. You're right. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
As a lieutenant general in the Air Force and superintendent of the academy, how much of that military background can you bring, and how can you translate that into this playoff?
It's funny. Operations are operations, right? Whether it's military operations, game day operations, playoff operations, logistics are important. The kinds of things that the kinds of things that you think about in the military for deployed operations or whether you're conducting some kind of contingency plan, it's the same kinds of things that we think about. It's just a different concept, right? We're talking about an athletic event, not a combat event, But I find that the team at CFP, they think in a very military way about how there's a methodology to the things that they do. It's one step at a time. It's driving to a certain goal. And these things are familiar with me. And I'm not as familiar with the inner workings, you know. We have experts in game ops. We have experts in sponsorship, experts in all the things that need to happen. But it's very methodical, and you have to take it that way. And so I'm finding a lot of similarities in the way that things are executed.
He was mentioned in the home sites. You mentioned that everybody has a chance, the 134 schools when the season begins. What do you react, or how do you react when you go, well, the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get everything? Because they're not going to get everything because they don't get all 12 spots. But is that even something that is on your radar that, well, they're going to get 8 of the or 7 of the 12 teams?
So what's on my radar is there's only 5 teams that we know are going to get a spot, and those are those 5 champions, right? They're going to get their spot. After that, it's at large, right? There's 7 other teams that are going to get in based on their performance throughout the season. So, people say, well, they're going to get it all. If they're as good as people think they are, then they will. If they're not, then they won't. So, I react that it's a pretty fair distribution right now, the way that it's done. The selection committee is very fair-minded about how they rack and stack the teams, and in the end, it's balanced to me.
It's Rich Clark again. He's now the executive director of the College Football Playoff. Congratulations on the opportunity. Love the military background as well, and thanks for your time, and good luck. Get the first one in, as you said. Let's see how it happens, and then take a deep breath, enjoy it, and see what else can be done afterwards. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you guys having me.
This is 365 Sports at Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas.
Make this the summer event at Allen Samuels. Drive the all-new 2024 Grand Cherokee 4XE or Wrangler 4XE today. Lease payments start at just $589 a month or finance for 2.9% for 84 months. Experience legendary Jeep performance with cutting-edge hybrid technology. Hurry, only at Allen Samuels in Waco. See dealer for details.
Come by, let's be friends.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texans are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
One of the things from the discussion with Rich Clark was when he lit up, when you mentioned the first-round games, hosting first-round games, he lit up. I did see this, that one of the quotes from another interview was there's a lot of factors that are going to go into this. Weather is going to be a factor because this game later in the year, in the winter, than they normally would play, hotels are a factor. Do they have a level of hotels that would be expected for a playoff game? The availability when we need it, because this is not something that they know 8 months ahead of time is going to be played in their backyard. I thought the host sites were based on the seeding, and so does that put into play that the seeding could be affected based on who can really host a party in the first round?
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. I would sure hope that they're not already setting it up to screw job some folks, because like Minnesota makes the playoff, but they move it to like Georgia because the weather's nicer. I mean, I think that more long. I feel like I read this months ago of, let's say you have an outdoor stadium up north like Ohio State. Now, they would never not host a play. I don't care if it's blizzard.
And
Columbus
is a massive city. So
yeah, so I don't – but, like, I guess maybe if you couldn't play, you'd move it indoors to an NFL stadium type of thing. But I know you can't just do that off the cuff either.
That's not a host site. I know that would be a home neutral, but that's not a host site.
For the playoff – that would be a host site.
In the first round. Let's not get away from the next rounds, the bowl games. This is for the first round host site.
Yeah, hosting at home.
Yeah. So Ohio State would not play a first round game if they played in the first round anywhere else but Columbus.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't. But what I'm saying is if there was like I don't know what he's getting at there either. I'm trying to figure it out through talking through it. But I'm saying like if there was some like weather fiasco, I guess you could come. I mean, I think they did say that there could be conversations about going to a neutral site if it was a particular matchup, for example, and the two teams agreed to do that. Now, I don't know who would want to not do that.
Yeah.
But if you're like Kansas and you don't have a stadium to play in this year, then you might have to do that. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what he's getting at there. I don't like the massaging that's already going on, though, of like how weather could suddenly trump actually being the best team, which is what I hear. But I'm also a little bit paranoid when it comes to a lot of what college football leaders have to say these days, because I do feel like they're doing what they want to when they want to and when it's convenient to. So I'm side-eyeing that a little bit, but I would need more details.
Here's basically how I determine it. If you're getting down to splitting hairs on who the fifth seed and the sixth seed, like who those teams are, then maybe that might be a factor. Or if you do, I mean, if you're one of the higher seeds, you're going to host the game anyway. But it's if they get into one of those factors, then I think that you'll hear the committee be like, oh, well, this is why they're 11th. They're 11th. And they're like, why are they 11th? Well, we determined that the mileage traveled plus the fact that, they ate a lot of Mexican food because they were in the Southwest a lot and slowed them down. So they're 11th as opposed to the team that they're going to go play, and that's how it'll go. So.
Well, just a thought. That's something we just had Rich, of course, Clark on. I liked him. I if anything, of course, you could tell he's starting to try to. He's also in the middle of like a blur for him, trying to make sure. But the bottom line of his entire deal, they got to do this right. They got it to 12. Don't screw this up. They got to do it right. But that was also kind of an offset of what was being mentioned, too.
So did you get that quote from a guy named Neil Meyer?
I can't. I don't. I
Okay, because I just Googled because I wanted some more clarification because I was like I said, side eye a couple of times there because it didn't really make a whole lot of sense in my head. And I admittedly am paranoid when it comes to college football leaders trying to squeeze everything they can to get what they want. I mean, we've seen it. Game control is like the number one thing that always pops into my head and how they massage the playoffs. But here's a quote, and this makes way more sense. Rich Clark says hotels and weather will be a factor people need to consider in terms of teams hosting these playoff games. You only get 2 weeks to prepare for those games, and we are trying to get ahead of it. We have to get it right and hit it with a bang, especially this year. Is he talking about maybe fans having to prepare for it? I don't know. Yeah. I'm just trying to look at it differently. I don't know exactly what that means. And there's only there's no traction really to follow up on it and get any further clarification.
Also, though, when they do home sites, hotel rooms are a factor, but it's not like Ohio State if they host in Columbus and they play, say, Memphis, that Memphis is going to have a ticket allotment more than, 10,000, whatever the basic allotment is.
If you do get a team that otherwise would possibly not have any chance in this dance, and they're really good, there is the possibility that no matter how good they are, no matter how fervent or how rabid their fans are, you just run out of gas when it comes to what you can do. Games you can go attend. That's why it would be great for them to be able to play a first-round game at home, see what happens, and then after that you might have to make 2 or 3 games that are on the road. In fact, everyone will have to make 2 or 3 games on the road.
I saw another quote from the football writers. Seeding for the playoff teams will be strictly from the selection committee. No factors regarding the school's preparation to host will play a part in the process. So, again, we need some more clarity on that particular quote because you could take it, I guess, a couple different ways, and I've taken it every way already, and I still don't know exactly what that means.
It'll be interesting because they don't need to have any loopholes.
Yeah.
They don't need because if a team that perhaps doesn't have 70,000 or more gets in the tournament and they get a first-round hosting opportunity, you don't want to see them all of a sudden go from 5th to 11th because of any of that. If that's who they are, if they're ranked 5th, and you hope that the committee doesn't I know the human part of this is going to be a part of it, and I don't want if it's a 5th seeded team, then by God they shouldn't be seeded 9th.
Right, because they might play up north or something. Right, I think that's the advantage if you're those teams up north in that time of the year. So, again, trying to parse through that, but maybe we'll hear more from him that makes that make a little bit more sense. I did really enjoy talking to him. I think he came across as a strong and honest leader, but I was also a little bit taken aback. That's probably too strong, actually, but I was a little bit like, when he was surprised that we were asking some of the questions. It sounded like he was surprised that we were asking about the SEC Big Ten favoritism. And it's like, you don't realize that that's a conversation? And the biggest conversation surrounding the playoff is how teams will be allotted and who might have some favoritism. And so, I think you need to be aware.
As soon as it was announced 12, everyone started saying, okay, there's 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten.
That leaves 3, for everybody else. And so I think that's been the overwhelming conversation surrounding the playoffs. So when he was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, it's like, well, yeah, because that's what everybody's talking about is the format and how it was set up to have inclusion or a lack thereof. So, but I really enjoyed talking to him. And my main takeaway from it is I'm just stoked for those host games. I think that's going to be so badass, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, to see Texas, hosting North Carolina State or something in Austin with a trip to the second round on the line, or name any other combination. Those two just popped into my head. Oklahoma's hosting
USC.
Yeah, USC in Norman in the first round. That's awesome. That is going to be awesome. And I understand there are those who don't like the expanded playoff. I'm sure when it rolls around, there will be things that I don't end up liking necessarily, but I am very fired up to see what this looks like.
I just happened to see this on my timeline, and because of where we were the last 3 days and also the flight Monday morning early to Vegas and back last night, Robert McMurray, he works for CBS News in Texas, has a video of the line to check in for a bag at Southwest Airline that is never ending. And you know me, I would tap out. No, it's never
in Vegas.
No, this is at Dallas.
Okay.
At Love Field. Now we flew out of Austin.
Get ready, SEC.
I love Love Field. I love it. I know back and forth too. There are hundreds and hundreds of people who are in line to check their bags. It is it gives me anxiety, even though we're back. Just wanted to throw that out there that we were very fortunate about all of that. In fact, it was nuts how we finished the show, packed it up, dropped you guys off the terminal, and we're already at the gate in probably 30 to 35 minutes.
It was. We weren't even through security very long before you got back from the shuttle.
And I had to go, yeah.
I wasn't. I had some of our equipment. I also have my sleep apnea machine and my laptop. And in Austin, they have the new machines. They're like, listen, don't take anything out. Just take your shoes off and take the stuff out of your pockets, and we're going to put the whole thing through. That's what they have. In Vegas, it's if there's a wire, take it out.
And this isn't even the line. This isn't like security. This is to just simply check in and drop your bags off. This is like looking at 2 to 3, 4 hours, which is crazy.
Here's the note. The online baggage screening machines are operating at total capacity. The extremely high volume of departing passengers checking luggage, presumably, from the recent convention that hosted over 60,000 people at one point. So that's just a massive amount of people who are leaving after what looked like probably a convention earlier in the week in Dallas.
We got a little bit concerned because our flight crew hadn't showed up by the time the takeoff time had arrived, and fortunately it wasn't very long, but we had some surprise additions to the plane, which was Dave Aranda and the Baylor contingent, because their private plane they were supposed to take back, they think maybe the heat played into it, but it had an issue, and they ended up riding with us. The best part of it, though, was if you're going to leave Vegas at night on Wednesday, not a bad time to just leave and roll through that bad boy, but also half-full flight, which was really awesome and a nice way to end the very, very long, tiring day.
And I don't know, that's not security line, by the way.
No, that's what I said.
Checking a bag. So TSA, clear, none of that even comes into play. All right, we have Craig Smokin off the radar around the corner, but a couple of more stories. I saw this earlier today. Sportico, Michael McCann, Mitt Winter, all these guys that are a part of sports law. The Third Circuit has affirmed a district court's denial of the NCAA's motion to dismiss Johnson versus NCAA. Last year, the Third Circuit was hostile to the NCAA's position, and today's ruling captures the sentiment that could be even more, according to all the ones that I read. First of all, college athlete employment closer than ever before. Paul, you're our legal expert if we don't have the 9 guys that we have on the show.
Yeah. I know this is a shocker, guys. The NCAA lost today. They lost again. So this also makes the recent potential House settlement more problematic, because now you have a court saying that your whole idea of amateurism and can't make them employees
is antiquated, outdated,
and all of this. So all this is going to dovetail together eventually. So the little tiny victory lap that the NCAA tried to take after, we made the settlement, we'll be able to do this on your own, is very short-lived.
Yeah.
They are so bad at court.
When we discussed this, and I've tried to stay away from it, but today there was a ruling. Just like the ACC thing, there was a ruling about that today as well with Clemson and whatever. But you could kill yourself thinking about it. But one of the things that the settlement was supposed to do, and even some that mentioned this, that this would avoid anyone in the future suing the NCAA. And we've already seen this. We've seen the NCAA basketball players, Chalmers from Kansas, with his moment at the Final Four in the championship game. They want a piece of something. So it's, the back pay that only goes back to how many years of football. Now they're getting involved in this too. It's never going to stop.
No, it's not. And it's, just part of the deal at this point, and we are barreling towards a full-on, employee, or however you want to phrase it, whatever the end outcome is going to be, but it's going to be much more of an employee label than it is a student-athlete label at this stage. I think that's a reckoning that's been coming for a while, and it's inevitable, and it's just a matter of what that looks like on the other side, which I understand a lot of people are trying to figure out, and I'm glad to not be one of those having to try to parse through this, especially from the NCAA side of things. So, just another nail in the student-athlete coffin, which, I don't know, that might have dirt on it already. They might not even need to put any more nails in that student-athlete term, although I appreciate it for what it was, but I understand why it was a buzzword in a negative way, because it was used to try to maintain the no, they're students, they're not professional players, and there is some element. I think that part is getting lost, though, the student part of this. Sure, there's so many people either greedy or that want to, for their own greed, eliminate that term, and others who want to stand to benefit that just toss aside learning and degrees. Oh, well, this guy, he played football, so he only got a general studies degree. It's like, but that's one example. There's countless others of guys who played football and got, great degrees in baseball and whatever. And I don't know. I just think the whole, let's toss education to the side and free education at that is just, I don't know. I think that's a little reckless in a way. But, there are arguments as to why student-athlete's been a bad term for a while. I think we're just kind of programmed to say that. So, that's a thing that will continue moving on down the tracks. And here we come full-blown employment at some point.
I don't ever want to see the term student-athlete thrown out. I don't. I know I'm losing that battle. Okay, I get that.
But you're not using it to hold people down. You're using it because they are athletes that go to school.
I believe if there was a huge investigation, not that we need another one, but a massive investigation on the players who are transferring, have transferred or multiple times, that there has to be inconsistency on actually progressing to a degree. And
I would just feel stupid to go to college for 5 years and have no degree, or not something on the other side of that. And I think that's what kind of sucks is that, there are people who just end up with the general studies degree because they were a great linebacker for Georgia Tech or something. Or not Georgia Tech. They're actually an academic school.
Georgia Tech guys got a
Georgia then, respectfully.
We picked on Georgia today.
I know. Albany, you're up next in the crosshairs. But I do think that's something that was quite reckless as well in its own right of, just pushing guys through the system or gals. And here's this degree that doesn't hold a lot of weight. But I don't think none of this is all 100% one way or the other, and there was some benefit to that, and there's a benefit to a free education, and I think that just gets tossed aside because it's not fun to talk about, and there's people that are anti that to begin with, so, it is what it is.
Kickface, by the way, I like this comment. It has nothing to do with the student-athlete part, but I can't wait for the new season to start. The new Big 12 is exciting, already better than the ACC, laugh out loud. Whether it is or not remains to be seen, but I think a lot of people kind of have a breath of fresh air with what the Big 12 is now. Go do something about it and see how the games shake down.
Absolutely, and I'm very much looking forward to it, and it was great the last couple of days to be able to talk about the season and the teams and the players and not so much of the other stuff, but the other stuff comes with the territory, and you put that in, but you put that into the rotation of things to talk about when it's relevant. But, we're not far away. We got Media Days next week. Who is it next? SEC.
Yeah.
And then we'll have Big Ten, ACC after that. Pac-12 had theirs last night. And there's others that'll be scattered around the next couple of weeks. And so, as you can imagine, I'm sure Jim Phillips will have some interesting things to say in a couple of weeks. And Florida State will have Clemson, some angsty times at ACC Media Days potentially or not.
They'll hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
I did want to mention on the Florida State thing, because this is the best way to kind of wrap up what happened today, I feel like, is Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times said, now it's official. The ACC must share its ESPN contracts with FSU as part of the Leon County litigation, according to the court order signed by a judge this morning, which was also obtained by the Tampa Bay Times. So there's that, and there was damn broken, they've got the contracts. Well, All Knowles on Twitter says, and credit to @H Martinborough, just to be clear, it must do so because it agreed to do so. This was not a judicial ruling. It was an agreed order that both parties agreed on. And to remind folks, FSU lawyers have had access to this for over 2 years and have reviewed it all many times. This is absolutely a good thing, but it's not a big thing. So there's the FSU note, and I feel like that sums it up in a tidy way.
Yeah. So, but again, what if there's nothing in there that's really going to help them?
Well,
like,
then
I mean, like,
a lot of disappointed folks in Tallahassee.
I mean,
you know one thing that's in there? Florida State's signing that contract.
Yeah. Like, okay, let's take that detail out of it. But, you know, that's kind of a big thing.
They're
by the way,
signing
thank you to JQ for the super chat. We met. He's a big UCF fan. That's Bounce House Grillin' on Twitter. We met. I went to his tailgate when I was there. So
very cool.
Thanks for the $10 super chat. And yeah. Oh, by the way, so in regard on the chat room, Barry Crawford said this, and this is I'm gonna make an edict right here. He said the difference is employees pay taxes, students do not. Yes, that's true. But anything I've heard about, like, you know, Greg Sankey, whoever, like, oh, nobody will come up to me and they say they want to pay taxes. So, like, all right, so your contention is that they would rather make no money and not pay taxes or make hundreds of thousands and pay taxes.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
there you
so
go.
I think that's an argument like, oh, yes, guess what? They're just like everybody else who didn't pay taxes when they were kids, and then you're an adult, and you get a job, and then you're like, hey, what's this bull crap about 10%?
Why isn't
Or
my
what do you
dad,
know?
why am I not on my dad's life
Yeah,
insurance?
what's
health
going on
insurance?
here?
Yeah.
Well, that's just life. So now they get it, you know.
Yeah.
Garrett, do you have something?
I was going to say, my daughter literally had that conversation with me this morning. She got her check. She's like, what the heck is this? I'm like,
yeah, that's always
welcome
fun.
to the world.
That's always a fun reality check.
Uncle Sam comes for us all. I mean, like,
no, you're right.
That seems such a weird argument to me. Like, well, they're going to have to pay taxes. Yeah. It's one of the two certain things.
Yeah.
The other one's death.
Yeah.
I'll take taxes over death.
Yeah.
Taxes. And I know some of you,
You know
out
what means
there
if you pay
libertarian,
taxes? I know.
You're
But
alive.
if you pay taxes, that means you're earning money.
Yeah. It also means you're alive. Well, not
Yeah.
necessarily. I guess
Well,
sometimes
no.
you can't know. But look, if you say the certain things are death and taxes, well, guess what? Death sucks. I don't want that. I would rather pay taxes and
All
be
right.
alive.
Last night, the great points. I do not want to see student athletes go by the wayside, but I know again.
There'd be some middle ground that there's going to have to reach there. But
okay, if you're an athlete and you now have the value, you're taking advantage of that after years of not being able to. Well, one of the things they get, and they've always gotten, when they got a scholarship, was a free education. And I don't even think that comes into play anymore. I think in some schools it does.
I think it actually matters for more people than it doesn't,
I
because
think
most
you're
people
right.
aren't going to the NBA and the NFL, but we only focus on those. Like, well, they're going to make millions; they don't need that degree. And like, you're probably right in that that 19-year-old that's a first round pick in the NBA lottery, but everybody else on his team, for the most, maybe other than one or two other guys, they're not going to the NBA. No. Probably not going to Europe. So I think the degree does matter. But yeah, I don't.
Somebody mentioned in the chat about if you go to UCF and you graduate, you are going to be placed, because it's a massive alumni base, you are going to have a job. And it's like at A&M or Texas and places like that too. But you are going to be taken care of as far as to start up your career. Craig, go ahead and finish that.
No, I don't know where I left off really there. I just think that.
Well, you were saying that one or two guys are going to make thousands of dollars and all the rest of them.
And then they're being used as an example of why student athletes is BS. And, then there's just a whole argument about that term. It's kind of a buzzword for some people. And I do think it has merit. It's not a negative connotation. Maybe in some instances it is. But, I mean, I think, again, we focus on, like, the select few when being negative against that versus the thousands that do benefit from that free education. And I think a free college education is a big deal. I think there's a lot of people, millions as a matter of fact, in this country that would love to have had a free education rather than being in their job paying off their $70,000 student loan debt at 25 years old, So that's just a minor thing with that term, but I understand both sides of it.
We do have to go because of Off the Radar. Ryan MC, thanks for your super chats. JQ, L.A. Lamb, La Lamb. That is retired stockbroker's wife, Les.
Hello.
Welcome home from Les's computer. Laugh out loud is the big number one. Thank you very much for the super chat. Real quickly, here's the tweet from the Pac-12. Teresa Gould, who's the Pac-12 commissioner, said, if anybody has earned the right to drink, it's the Pac-12. That yesterday from Chris Vanini as they were wrapping up the evening from Pac-12 Media Days inside the beautiful city of Las Vegas.
Did George Kliavkoff really earn a drink? Did some of them really earn that? No, that was a weird scene, and it was just something I saw. Ross Dellinger was there. He posted a picture. He had like the mascots and Teresa Gould, and they had some legends, if you will, that were on stage. Like Ryan Leaf was on there, and I forget who else, but
Steven
Jackson. But yeah, it seemed like kind of a funeral in a way, but also a hopeful night when it came to what the future holds for them. And it was sort of bizarre and surreal, I would imagine, for Oregon State and Washington State fans, and also just Pac-12 fans in general. Like Yogi Roth was there. I know he's very down because that was a big part of his whole career was that he's still going to do a West Coast, I think, podcast, or is. But that was surreal, and I'm curious as to what the future holds. But good on them for at least trying to put something out there.
Last comment from Dustin: Pac-12 Media Day is more like the Pac-12 Media Hour.
There was definitely some comments about how sad it was, and I lean more that direction than it was like some great celebration. It very much had that kind of almost a funeral vibe. But at least Wazoo and Oregon State had their media, hour or whatever, as opposed to nothing at all.
All right, a little bit later on, Baylor receiver Ketron Jackson will join us. Also, I mentioned Zach Gelb, CBS Sports, following what is next, which is Craig Smoke and Off the Radar. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. And what I mean by that is that it's the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Had a good conversation late last week with Bob. Actually, it was on Saturday with Bob Mock at Marco's Pizza. 5 locations in the Central Texas area and locations throughout the country. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. I love the pepperoni or the all-meat Magnifico, where it is just loaded with the product or whatever you want to put on your pizza. You go online to marcos.com and find different, specials. Could be wings, could be their pizza bowls, pizza, yes, all of that. And then, by the way, use a code word and get a discount, either something that's delivered or something you go pick up at Marco's Pizza. 5 locations in Waco, in Belmead, Hewitt, Woodway, Robinson, and China Spring. Bob Mock, the owner, fastest growing pizza brand in America, Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Bambi SQ, what is the number one reason or 2 or 3 reasons, Bambi, that people should contact House of Travel?
As a travel agency local here in Waco, we can take care of all your bookings, your payments, answer your questions, help you when there are issues or problems, things that may come up that you don't know what to do or how to fix them. People don't realize we don't charge a fee for what we do. It doesn't cost you extra to use a travel agent. We're just here. We get paid by the tour companies and the cruise lines to represent them. But you have an expert on your side that's here and local, and you have a name and a face to put together to help you with anything that you may need. Give us a call. We can price things for you. We can help you answer questions. We can make it simple, easy, and one stop.
Your knowledge of all the years you've done this and then spit it back to them or give them options?
It helps us to kind of know a date range, a budget, what your goals are and what you want to see and do on your vacation. And then that helps us to know what to look for, and we can narrow down and help you make the best choices for your vacation so you get the best value, you get exactly what you were hoping for, and making sure that it's taken care of with a carefree, easy, simple for you type vacation. I've been doing this for over 40 years. Every day I learn something new. I experience new situations and things that I can help take care of for people, whether it's just making sure you get the best deals and find the best vacations, or whether it's to solve that problem, like you've got a flight that's being canceled and don't know what to do. There's weather coming up. Should I cancel my trip next week because of the hurricane? Those are things that we take care of and you don't have to worry about. You've got somebody that you can rely on that you know is an expert, knows what we're doing, have been doing this for a long time, so that you're not questioning, okay, does the person on the other end of the phone really understand what I'm asking or know how to find those deals? You've got an expert, and we are here to take care of that.
For more information, go to houseoftravelwaco.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Our good friend Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jewelers here at 365 Sports. Now, Brad, people who watch and listen to our show know I'm a double-time customer for you, engagement ring and wedding band, and you guys do that great, but that's not all you do at Boozer's Jewelers.
Absolutely, and I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer's Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened their doors in 1943, and they have never wavered with their focus on great product and customer service, relationships with a handshake, making sure you, the customer, is satisfied. Their new facility is now twice the size, allowing new inventory, higher quantities, and in a much more organized fashion. In addition to the long lengths in tubing, angles, channels, rods, and flat, Pioneer Steel and Pipe now offers several shorter, more convenient lengths of material already cut. Their 2,500 square foot showroom has over 1,000 new products in stock, new welding supplies, hardware, quickcrete, and do-it-yourself components for any project, whether you are a professional contractor or weekend warrior. The new facility is designed to make your loading experience faster and more efficient with easy drive lanes around the building and much more room to get your trailer loaded. Our location may have changed, but our values haven't, and our relationship with customers goes much farther than just business. Pioneer Steel and Pipe on Loop 340 and Highway 6 and just east of I-35 in Waco.
This is Craig Smokes Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports. And first time doing this, and I guess it feels like forever after July 4th holiday last week. And now being in Las Vegas, we didn't do this on Tuesday, so got a few news and notes. Not an incredibly busy time, though, in regards to things that we wouldn't typically maybe get to. But how about this for starters? Texas Tech and Texas A&M are close to finalizing an agreement to play a neutral site game at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth this upcoming December 8th to be exact. It is not official, but it's all leaning that way, and it's being put out there to basically prepare you for the official announcement that is upcoming. It's going to be one of 4 games in a quadruple header. There will be another men's game, and there will also be 2 high-profile women's games as well. And these two, the Red Raiders and the Aggies, there is no love loss. We talk about Texas A&M and Texas, and I know that maybe it's more so on the Texas Tech side of things that they feel like this is a rivalry, because I think A&M can kind of do like the big brother type of thing of, well, you're not really our right, but there's some bad blood between A&M and Texas Tech, right? So they'll be getting it all boiled up bad blood-wise on the basketball court coming up this December. Now, they were originally supposed to play a home-and-home that was going to start this season. The first game was going to be in Lubbock, but that is now postponed, according to John Rothstein, who had a lot of this information. So that part is a bummer, I think. Yeah. If you were a Texas Tech fan or an A&M fan and you were hoping to see either one, roll in their respective years into your home arena, then you're not going to get that. Instead, you're going to get what some people don't love, which is a neutral site game. But I think the fact that it comes with 3 other games and it's part of an event, so to speak, and Dickies Arena is a really nice place.
That's great.
That'll be a fun little event. So December the 8th, Texas Tech, Texas A&M getting close to finalizing their men's basketball matchup.
Yeah, I kind of want to go. I kind of want to go there to that game. We'll see what December 8th is and what that has in store. But Jack and I talked about it earlier. I just want to see those 2 fan bases in a room together again because it's been a long time for anything. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that's the exciting part about it is we haven't seen a whole lot of a crossover between Texas A&M and Texas. As far as Texas A&M and the Big 12 schools, and now they're going to have Texas alongside them, so that will be renewed. But I think A&M's kind of stayed away from that for the most part, right? I mean, there's been probably some non-football sports, but football-wise, you haven't seen Texas Tech and Texas A&M. You haven't seen Baylor and Texas A&M. No. And part of that is that even if one side's open for it, the other side doesn't appear to be open for it at times. I know there's a lot of Baylor fans that are like, would love to see them play A&M, and there's a lot that would be against it because they feel like, well, you left us, and there's that whole mentality. So I'm very curious. How do you guys think this is going to play out in the future as far as those two and playing other Texas schools? And
depends on the number of conference games.
Yeah, the SEC adds another one.
Yeah.
And look,
that's one less non-conference game to deal with.
And also it depends on, look, if Tech is really good and Texas is really good, and that's kind of a stretch for a few years, and ESPN says, we'd like you to do this, and, it's part of the contract. We can kind of push these things. We'd like you to do this. It's going to happen. Like, that's TV will make these things happen more so than not. And look, TV is the thing that really made A&M and Texas play together again. I mean, that's what that was. I mean,
in some parts, yeah.
In some parts. So again, that TV's going to do it. Just like TV does it for you don't think that the television is not a big part of this game, too.
Basketball's a lot easier to make
it is. Basketball, but for football, especially we're going to see things more if you're going to see people have to play tougher non-conference games. And then what are the non-conference games that people are going to watch a little bit more is going to be, for example, we'll just use Texas. Is Texas going to, keep playing, do the SEC thing which they've never really done before, where they stash an FCS school in week 11, or are now, because they're probably going to take that game away, more often than not, are they going to play like a Tech or somebody? Because TV will say that.
Texas plays a great schedule.
They do. They do.
They've never, like Michigan this year, they might get a little bit of a break because it's the year after they had a team that was completely loaded, but they have still held it.
Here's what I've always liked about Texas' schedule. Yes, they're going to have a game that should be we're going to beat this team up. But it's always usually something like a UTSA who's respectable, or it's Rice, or it's someone like that. It is not Southeast Jesus Nowhere State where we're gonna give you.
Would you just say Jesus is nowhere?
Yeah, East Jesus Nowhere. So that's we're not gonna play Southeast Missouri State in week 11.
It might even be North Texas, but it's gonna be usually somebody with a regional flavor. And so we'll see what happens as far as the football-wise. Is correct. We got back to the original part of it. Whether or not Tech and A&M or Baylor, whoever plays, I would say probably not.
Yeah, probably going to hold off on that, I suppose. All right, Paul Skeens, nearly getting the no-hitter earlier today. Struck out 11 in 7 no-hit innings. He is on his way to the All-Star game. The rookie Pittsburgh Pirate, former LSU star and national champion, and high-profile boyfriend of another celebrity LSU athlete. But the Pirates did beat the Brewers 1-0 today. And Paul Skeens, 99 pitches, 65 strikes, and walked one batter. His ERA now 1.90. He is 6-0 on the year, and that's in 11 starts. Colin Holderman came in to replace him and gave up a leadoff single. So ended the no-hitter bid right there. But I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some of those in his future regardless. And as he gets more seasoned and they build him up and he's able to, just stay in those games. Because I don't think you're not trying to throw him out of, being where he is and in the zone that he's in right now. You're trying to protect him as much as possible, even if he's dabbling with history. There's time for some history to be made, and the route that he's on right now, he will make some history. But just another really impressive performance by Paul Skeens.
Yeah. He should be the starter.
Been pitching for a couple of months. That's what I'm saying. In a couple of months, he's made the All-Star team. Not the season.
He's unbelievable. I think it's a bummer that we're at a point where 99 pitches is too much for a guy. I don't know when they're throwing a no-hitter. Major League Baseball's got to get that figured out. Like that.
That's my point is, I guess there's the thought, I assume he's going to get it accomplished, but it's going to be at a point where they allow him to go past 100 pitches and say, no, you're just going to stay in there and finish this bad boy off. But they're very clearly protecting him at this point. So,
well, we've seen.
And who knows? Maybe he was fatigued or doesn't sound like it, but.
Who was the flamethrower that was with the Washington Nationals?
Strasburg.
Strasburg, right? And so we've seen. But that's happened even.
Here's, though, what I wonder. And maybe we just don't know this, but Bob Gibson threw really hard, right? Mm-hmm. Did he ever rip his arm up?
No, it's a change. It's like launch rate and hitting.
Yeah. Okay, so I get that, the fact that these guys can all throw 108 now is really cool, but maybe you don't need to do that. Nolan Ryan never had arm surgery, and he threw when he threw the fastest pitch ever recorded, it was the second to last pitch of the game in the 9th inning. So they've got to fix their technique there.
Someone's got to give, because if you look at it, there's the side, I'm trying to, I try to be level-headed with things, and I try to see every side of it. So, I can understand from the Pirates part of it, they don't want to, run him into the ground when he's so great. Yeah. But he also doesn't look like he was struggling at all based on everything that I gathered. So did you take away an opportunity where he was going to get his first no-hitter because you're too worried about how he's going to be later on this season? So there is, this protectiveness with pitchers nowadays that, if this was 1997, he would have pitched the whole game and maybe gotten that no-hitter, or maybe not. He would have gone past 100 pitches, but he would at least have had the opportunity. Instead, they're kind of handling guys with kid gloves a bit more because of all of the injuries, and that sucks.
It's not even that. You're right, but it's because of the investment.
It's not one or the other. It could be
contracts,
Sure. But anyways, he had another impressive performance, and a no-hitter bid that got ended after he was pulled. But, man, he is headed to the All-Star game, and he is pretty special. All right, a couple of NBA notes, because there's some things of significance here. For one, this would be of more interest to the Baylor and possibly Big 12 fans out there, but former Bear Taurean Prince signing with the Milwaukee Bucks, a 1-year veteran minimum contract. On July 3rd is when that agreement was made, but he couldn't sign until a few days later. So that's now all got a bow on it. And he has 8 years of service heading into this season. So that means the minimum of nearly $3 million for Taurean Prince, which is not a bad deal if the minimum salary is nearly $3 million. I know that's nothing, a drop in the bucket NBA salary-wise, but that's pretty significant. So he was with the Lakers previously, and just glad to see Taurean Prince, 30 years old, and he's bounced around the league a little bit, but he's still hanging in there, making money, and living his dreams, and so good for him.
He's a really good bench player to have. He does a lot of things. He's not a guy who's going to get you 30 points a night, but he's a nice rotational piece. He's a good defensive player, a good rebounder off the bench. Can get you. Can get you some good minutes, and he's going to really help the Bucks there. I think he fits in style-wise with what they do.
Yeah, so just glad to see that. Do you have any he also had the famous meme of, when was that? The NCAA tournament. Rebound the basketball.
But
I was there. It was great.
But he's turned in – this is a hell of a career.
I mean, it's a long career,
Baylor doesn't have a lot of guys in the NBA, but they have a handful.
They got a pretty good growing list right now based on the last couple of years.
Keontae and all the other ones too. And
two this year.
About to have this year, but he's made this into a really lengthy. It's going to be a double-digit years that he's going to be a part of the NBA, and he's done well. He had a nice run. Was it Atlanta? Was it where in Atlanta where he was pretty good?
In Atlanta. He's like I said, he's bounced around. He's with the T-Wolves. I mean, he's been in a few different places, but he's still making millions of dollars in the NBA. That's the point. So he's latched on with another team, and
they have 10 right now.
That's not nothing. 10 active NBA players. You got Kendall Brown, Jared Butler, Adam Flagler, Keontae George, Davion Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Taurean Prince, Jeremy Sohan, and then you had the two
Messi and Walter.
Yeah, Yves Messi and Jacoby Walter that were drafted. So that's that list. I remember a few years ago of looking for something to be negative about, basically, when it came to Scott Drew and the men's basketball program. And it's hey, they hadn't won a national championship, and they don't put a lot of guys into the NBA that actually get there, in general in volumes, nor do they really stick because of the Perry Joneses and guys like that. Well, now you look at it, and they've got a national championship, and they've got double-digit players on active NBA rosters. It's just summertime, but it's going to be close to that number when the regular season rolls around. So, anyways, Taurean Prince signing a new deal. Good for him. Meanwhile, NBA 2K25, just, a little something. There's been a lot of NCAA video game talk. I think, everything is kind of blasted everywhere in regards to that. I don't have anything to add there that hasn't already been out there from multiple accounts and places covering that on what seems like a daily basis ahead of its launch. But there are other games out there sports-wise. NBA 2K25 announced their cover athletes. It will be Jason Tatum, also Aja Wilson, and Vince Carter in different modes for the cover of the video game. So you'll have, I believe, like a Jason Tatum solo cover, and you'll have Aja Wilson for the women's fans out there, and then you'll have both on a cover together, and then you'll have like the the Hall of Fame edition. So the Hall of Fame edition will have Vince Carter. The All-Star edition will have Wilson and Brown. And then you'll have the WNBA edition with Wilson, and then the main edition with Tatum. So that's cool to kind of chop it up and, give everybody a little something, a little taste of different kinds of options there. So that was a little small note, and I thought I had one more here. Let me see. I think that might be it, guys. I think that might be – oh, no, that was not it, because there was the absolutely – massive news last night. We talk about TV contracts and sports rights and all those types of things. Y'all seen the numbers for the NBA deal that's upcoming? There's been a lot of talk about who's involved and TNT being on the outs. I think that's still being worked on, although it seems like with every day that passes, the percentages of that being an option seem to lower. The NBA, the upcoming television deal, 11 years, $76 billion. That will kick in for the 25-26 season. Same number of years that the NFL signed to in their most recent contract. The deal is with ESPN ABC, as well as NBC and Amazon Prime, and the league will average a TV payout of $6.9 billion per season, which places them comfortably, but not all that far in the grand scheme of things, behind the NFL, which gets about $10 billion per year. They also have a couple other networks because they basically got everybody under their umbrella. But we could see more with TNT if they are able to get into the mix eventually for like some, later last tier type of package. But NBA, I mean, say what you want about the product, say what you want about the regular season, say what you want about whatever, but they're making big TV bucks. 11 years, $76 billion with ESPN, ABC, NBC, and Amazon Prime starting in 25.
To bet against each other. You get Amazon Prime involved. They have money that's unlimited. It's what the Pac-12 always dreamed of, but it never happened, right? And it will start to become a much more prevalent part of future deals for everybody. It's like, what is it, though? The NFL, they have on, it's streaming, right?
It's another thing, though, where, like, you're going to have all these channels. If you're a diehard fan or a fantasy player or, someone like that you probably already have, if you're that hardcore of a sports fan, all of those channels. But you're going to be bouncing around, and that's just kind of par for the course of sports nowadays, bouncing from streaming to regular cable to TNT to ESPN to wherever. But, the NBA eating good, and that is not official, although that is supposed to become official here in the very near future. So that's why it's out there and being reported on. So there you go. There's a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig, very much. We are not done. We got a pretty busy 5 o'clock hour, including Zach Gelb of CBS Sports here joining us momentarily. Also, Ketron Jackson, the wide receiver at Baylor, will join him as well in just a moment. Now, we got Zach. He's on his way to the Poconos, by the way. Pretty good trip, huh? Gets to go drive up into the mountains. Do you have the University of Hawaii? No, Garrett? Do you have that one? So the University of Hawaii launches the first of its kind NIL jersey patch program with the Brander Group. So that's Hawaii finding extra revenue with the patch that's going to be on their jersey, which I think you're going to see much more of immediately, like even before perhaps even this season. We're now joined by Zach Gelb, CBS Sports. On your way to the Poconos, how long of a drive is that for you, Zach?
It should be about an hour and 45 minutes. My office is about, 1,000 feet from the Holland Tunnel. And in New York City traffic, it will take about 30 minutes just to get out of the Holland. So, wonderful.
Okay.
Well, I hope you like tunnels.
Yeah. We went through one yesterday just in the airport at Las Vegas. It was just nice because the heat, the sun was not on us for about a minute. But, Zach, your thoughts with college football, the newness of what the Big Ten has, what the SEC has, obviously what the Big 12 and ACC have. Your thoughts about how all this is a year, yet another year of so many new things and realignment as a major factor.
Yeah, so first off, I hate going to a 12-team college football playoff, but with all the uncertainty, even though I hate going to 12, it feels like it's the perfect landing spot for them to actually move it to 12 teams this year. But it feels like it's the haves and the have-nots And if you're in the SEC and if you're in the Big Ten, right, you feel like you're in, the conferences that everyone's trying to be a part of. I don't know what the future of the ACC is going to look like. The Big 12 is a good, gritty conference, but I don't know if there's any great teams in it. And the Pac-12 is now down to 2 teams. So I think there's going to be a lot more changes. But what I keep on going back to is the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't think they're looking to add that many more schools. So I don't think they're going to be as that selective as what they think people believe are. And maybe this eventually goes one day into just one big super conference where it's, I don't know, the 65, 70 best brands in college football, and then everybody else is playing on a different playing field.
Zach, Deion Sanders, year 2 at Colorado. What are your thoughts on what they will be able to do? He's very confident, used the word dominate. He's already calling out people saying that they underrank, they remove stars from his recruits when they commit to Colorado. What do you make of year 2?
Bowl game is a success. Bowl eligibility is a success. I know their win total is 5.5, so it's right there. But I would be surprised if they're bowl eligible. I think this is a 5-win team. I said it on my show earlier today. Colorado with Coach Prime, who I'm rooting for. I like Deion Sanders. I like Shedeur Sanders. I love Travis Hunter. They right now are the shiny car in the driveway. Like, you look at it, it's like, oh, great, that's a wonderful car when you're 3-4 houses away, and then you get into the driveway, and 2 tires are missing, and there's a half a tank of gas, and there's like a windshield that's cracked. I don't think they have a complete team. They have some big stars that could do well in the NFL, but that offensive line's revamped. That's going to be the key to their season because they made a lot of change to the offensive line, but if it's not actually significantly better, and if it's just marginally better, then Shedeur Sanders is going to be running for his life this year.
And one of the things, Zach, that was funny to kind of hear yesterday was Deion talking about the scheduling as far as ND State, North Dakota State being their first game, and what a challenge. He was joking about Rick George, his AD, setting that game up, and how much trouble they could have in that opening week. But in week number 2, it's Nebraska in Lincoln. We know you because, well, Matt Rule was a mutual connection. Yeah. You covered him at Temple. We then covered him at Baylor, and we got to know each other through all of that transition. How do you feel about Matt Rule heading into his second year with the Cornhuskers?
They'll be improved. Obviously, getting Raiola was massive, and I would think he's going to start right away, but I don't know. But I'd be surprised if he isn't. If they just had something on offense last year, they would have been bowl eligible. Like, I know Smokey is a Cornhuskers fan. How many games they lost where they would just fumble the ball or turn it over at the end? It was inconceivable. I couldn't even imagine it. So Nebraska will be better, and they should be a bowl team this year, but we'll have to wait and see. My bigger question is, when is Smokey gonna stop being a fraud and actually get himself to Lincoln, Nebraska? You are not a young man, my friend.
Hey, did Matt Rule get you? Because that's what he. That's what he.
I've
said,
already been called out. He said he would not. He said he would not do another interview, at least with me on the show, until I get to Lincoln. Yeah, I know.
And you have an incredible work ethic, with the high school football, college football. You're one of the hardest working people I know.
Thank you.
You're always moving and grooving. But here's the thing, Smokey. You could take a weekend off. You could hand the obligations to people else and actually go enjoy yourself and do something for yourself once in your life.
Are you listening to Paul? Are you listening?
Thank you, Zach.
Hey, thank you, Zach. Thank you. Hey, we it's a monthly conversation we have here.
Yeah, I know
about the.
By the way, I'm taking tomorrow off right now.
Zach, good job. About time.
Yeah, but one more thing on that, and we mentioned Rule a lot because of the fact he was at Nebraska. You're right. If they would have had a quarterback that could walk and chew gum and not turn it over more than once a game, they probably win 7 or 8 games last year. That's how just gut-wrenching it's been to be a Nebraska fan, really, for the last 5 to 7 years.
And what are people thinking in your neck of the woods now with Baylor? Because, man, Aranda had that program humming early, and the last few years, it's like, I thought he was going to be a big-time coach. and going to be able to continue this. But now it's a massive question mark. It doesn't seem like people are confident, right?
No, they're not, Zach. They're and again, he's on the hot seat. There's no doubt about that. He's got to win games. He's made a ton of changes. He's brought in Jake Spavital. Dave's going to call the defensive plays this year. So they have big time offensive and defensive coordinators. But the biggest question that remains with Baylor is not necessarily that right now. It's talent. I don't think scheme was really a problem with the old coordinators. I think it was more talent, and if they've improved their talent, then they'll get above the mark that he needs to. But that we have no idea about.
And who do you guys like in this conference? I saw Utah was picked first. I love Whittingham and I love Cam Rising, and I hope he can stay healthy. But man, there's like 4 to 7 teams, I would say, that legitimately could go win this conference. Kansas's quarterback has to stay healthy. I like Kansas State a lot. Kleiman is a phenomenal coach, and Mike Gundy obviously has Ollie Gordon. Who do you guys think wins this conference after being at Big 12 Media Days?
I maintain Utah, but man, I am so much more open to kind of moving that around. Like K-State, you could definitely see that. I think TCU could surprise some people. I definitely get that vibe.
Really?
Yeah, I think at least they could be much better and much more competitive and in the mix than they were last year when they kind of had the fall off after playing for the national championship. I think that's the appeal of it, Zach, is they're not going to have a dominant team per se. At least we don't expect them to. But there's going to be just an absolute rock fight every week and throughout the season to try and see who does end up on the other side. The only problem with that could be that you beat up on each other so much, but thankfully the expanded playoff, there's a little bit more room for error, in terms of having a shot at a national championship.
Yeah, and that's why I hate the playoff, because that's why I love college football. It's one of the few sports where the regular season means so much, and you have the rivalries. You have Michigan and Ohio State, playing for a spot to basically continue their season the last few years. I know there was the one year the Big Ten put 2 teams into the college football playoff. But it gives a lot of these teams a landing spot, and I'll be curious to see what the breakdown is. We know the conference champs are going to get in, but what is all the other spots? They're all going to be SEC? Are they all going to be Big Ten, or could a conference like the Big 12, a conference like the ACC, is there a road for them to put 2 teams in? It's going to be fun to see. I
think you'll appreciate this about the Dave Aranda conversation and just college football and where we are today. Part of the reason why they fell off in a lot of people's minds is after they won that Big 12 title, they didn't go and attack the transfer portal. They just kind of said, like, instead of riding that momentum and going and refilling and using that, they just kind of, hey, we've got who we've got, and we're going to play with those guys. And that led to, I think, a big talent disparity. Now, Aranda's learned from that, but yesterday I asked him about why they've had some recruiting success lately. And, Zach, it went a little bit viral, but his deadpan answer was, why are you suddenly picking up 4 stars over the last 3 weeks? We're paying players. And that was just his response was, we're paying players. So that is the big change that they've made. And man, is that not college football today?
At least he's honest, and I appreciate it, because that's a big thing. You got to adapt. And I know Aranda's not an older coach, but you got a lot of these older coaches like Dabo Swinney. Everyone would love to have the success in their profession that Dabo has had and what he did and what he has done at Clemson. But even if they win the ACC, I'm not going to attack Clemson on the you-know-what. We expect Dabo to be a national championship contending coach. But until he embraces the transfer portal, and he has made fun of NIL, saying, "Oh, my program's built off the name, image, and likeness of God," when he said that a year or 2 ago, you've seen it drive coaches out of the sport. It's why Saban's retired. It's why Jay Wright isn't coaching anymore. Why Coach K elected to hang him up as well. It has driven coaches out of the sport. When you're an older coach, I could get it, but for these coaches that still have a lot of years left, you got to adapt or you got to get out.
Zach, what do you think nationally who could surprise some people? I mean, you look at every conference. You're actually, in my opinion, one of the best college football guys in the national media, because sometimes, I know that the networks will be like, hey, you talk about Bronny James's all 3 points, and you leave it behind. But who do you see moving up and maybe shaking things up that might be kind of outside the obvious?
Oh, that's a great question, because last year I was on Florida State and I was also on Washington. I love both of those 2 schools to win their conference. Man, that's an excellent – I haven't even thought about it like that. But you know what? maybe it's Kansas. I like Leipold a lot, and he just needs his quarterback to stay healthy. So I could see Kansas being a college football playoff team, which if I would have said that 4 years ago, people would have asked me what drugs I was on. But I like what Leipold's doing, and I believe in people, and I believe in Leipold. And I thought it was very fascinating that he elected to stay. So I look at someone like Kansas, which I don't know if that's like a big-time upset pick. But, with the Big 12 being so jammed up as it is, I'll put some shekels on Kansas, maybe.
If you would have brought up that Kansas could be in the college football playoff 2 or 3 years ago, they would have thought.
Never talk to me again.
Yeah, they would have thought that you were either a Georgia football player and reckless driving, or somebody else, because that would have absolutely just been, what are you doing? But it's great. It's what I love about it, and I wish we loved. We had him on yesterday. Leipold was great yesterday, and Daniels is an electric player. Zach, thank you for your time.
I got to go one more question over here. Zach, knowing we were going to have you on, I took a glance at your timeline, and just a few minutes ago, I was just going through some off-the-radar type of headlines, a little break from the regular programming, and I brought up Paul Skeens and him being pulled deep into his no-hitter with 99 pitches in. They decide to take him out. I understand the protecting your investment and all of those types of things, but man, like, this would not have happened, in the old school days. And I know some of the changes are for the better, but man, what the heck, man? What do you think about Paul Skeens getting pulled at 99 during a no-hitter?
99 pitches, coming off an inning where he went 6 pitches, and the manager after the game says he was tired? Like, what? How he did not put him on the mound for the 8th. Even knowing how baseball is now, it's still inconceivable to me. And I know everyone's going to crush the manager. The GM, Ben Sherrington's got to take some heat for this too. This is the problem of Major League Baseball. Ohtani, Judge, and Skeens right now are the 3 most popular players. And Skeens is 11 games into his career, whatever it is. The All-Star game is coming up. I know he's in the All-Star game. There's a chance he may start it. And you pull him when he basically just breezed through 3 hitters in the 7th. Disgusted, absolutely disgusted with it. And quite frankly, we should protest the Pirates for the rest of the season and never pay attention.
Hey, Zach, enjoy the beauty of where you're going, man. Enjoy the trip when you get there. Have a great weekend. Thanks for your time. We appreciate you jumping on and all you do is CBS Sports. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, 2 things, Smokey. One, I have moved a half block during this interview. I'm not even in the Holland Tunnel yet.
God.
And secondly, I may never come on with you again if you don't get to Lincoln, Nebraska, all right?
Well, that's much more important to me than if Rule comes on our show, than if we lose you for a
Don't
segment.
let him hear that.
No.
Oh, you're going to get a text later. He's going to be mad at you.
Well, they're not talking right now because of the whole Lincoln thing. So I might get a text.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Hey, good luck on that trip. Appreciate it. Going to the Poconos. Zach Gelb, CBS Sports. He is full throttle, hair on fire. And we got to know him before he really became on the air at CBS Sports. He was doing local radio up in the Northeast. He's the one that we got to know when Rule was hired by Baylor, and have gotten to be a heck of a friendship with him, and a great segment too. All right, when we come back, Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the Baylor Bear Hotline will include Ketron Jackson Jr., wide receiver from Baylor. He was at Big 12 Media Days. His thoughts about the Jake Spavital offense, the competition they're getting from the defense, and how do they turn it around, and will they? That's next. This is 365 Sports.
Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco is where I get my cigars. 48-foot walk-in humidor with all of the great brands, nationally and internationally, the best elite brands around the world. And how about this email from owner Josh Caldwell, who told me about a couple that drove in from Fort Worth to Waco purely based on listening and hearing me talk about Don Humidor. They have a pipe that's a bit of a family heirloom that needed to be repaired. They made the special trip to Don's after listening to 365 Sports, finding out we are one of the only shops left that can help them with the pipe. Not only are they going to fix the pipe, and they did, they also bought a new setup, complete with pipe, stand, and some sample tobaccos. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, just between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco. 48-foot walk-in humidor, great cigars, even what you need when it comes to smoking pipes and repair, and fresh coffee beans. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans with Cheyenne and Josh in the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
Make this the summer of Ram at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home in a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star for just 2.9% for 72 months with no payments for 90 days. Plus, first responders get an extra $500 off at Allen Samuels.
Some say a dog is a man's best friend. But I tell you what, boys, you better think again. 'Cause there ain't nothing better than some cows, pigs, and turkeys too. I love to cover them in sauce down at Rudy's Barbecue.
Bring all your friends to Rudy's for some tasty oak smoke barbecue.
Next in line.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Baylor wide receiver Ketron Jackson with us on 365 Sports Big 12 Media Days. And we've kind of heard from a lot of different players and also Coach Aranda about the competition. And I saw a little bit of that when you had the scrimmage to wrap up the spring. You couldn't see much there. But I did see the 50-50 catches, and I just saw something. Now, whether that translates into the fall remains to be seen. What have you seen that's different? Is there an edge to this team after last year?
It's most definitely an edge. We came out first day of spring ball, and just the whole environment just felt different. The whole practice felt different. I feel like a team does really have an edge. I felt everybody's mindset together. We're an older team now. Like, had a few years where we were kind of younger, didn't have a leader established and nothing like that. But I feel like the whole vibe, the edge is definitely there.
Coach Aranda talked about you in particular. I mean, that edge and developing that, and that takes time. That takes, maturity. That takes a lot of things. What's that process been like for you personally and as a player? And, where do you feel like you are in terms of, kind of being more of that establishing yourself type of a guy?
I feel like last year was kind of like a filling out kind of year. I'm not like as a vocal leader as I should be, but I'm working more into that, and that's like I'm getting more comfortable with that right now. But like having that edge to be a dog, because Coach Aranda believes that I'm a dog, and he says I got to make sure that shows at practice and translate over to the season. So that just be my mindset.
So Jake Spavital's offense now is installed after what you had with Jeff Grimes. for you, for the wide receiver core, when people think about what Spavital has run of that offense, it's just like all over the place, but it's a little more complicated than that. What is the difference, in your opinion, of what the fans or others will see?
I feel like it'll be more exciting. I feel like, I don't know, some people may say our game was kind of boring last year. No offense to nobody.
No, I'll be honest with you. I thought they were too, yeah.
A little boring. Like, I mean, we can see that. But this year, I feel like watching football, you got to have some good run game. But you see the ball thrown, that's where it gets, like, excited. Like, when I made catches last year, I feel like the crowd was up. But after that, like, or if we want to get in, like, a big play or something like that, then it was just, like, mellow. But I feel like it'll be a lot of big plays this year.
What's that like to go up and win a jump ball? And I know that's something you're looking to do more of. That's part of the establishing yourself and being physical. But when you do that, what's that feeling like?
It's just me and the ball. There's no one else there, just me and the ball. I just got to make that. People say 50-50. We really say 80-20. Like, it's really no chance of them getting it. It's my ball.
How much, even if it's the first game against Tarleton or whoever, is there talking immediately between you and a corner? Is that almost from the beginning? Does it even start during warm-ups, or is that really not as much as we may think?
No, you could definitely get into some mouthing off, like, especially if y'all going at it. If you make a good play, he make a good play. Y'all could both be talking. Or sometimes, like, you'll run into a familiar face across from you, and then, okay, it's like, y'all talking. But I had quite a bit of conversations with him, telling him to take it easy on him or something. And I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Dave Aranda, and just getting to know him, there's obviously pressure. I know you guys can't focus in on that, but how are y'all handling that? And just, what's been your experience like seeing this offseason in particular, how involved he's been and all the different pots he's got going on?
First, I love how more involved he is because, where I feel like his best suit is when he is a DC. And this year, he's going to be DC. He's going to be calling the plays. So that's making me actually excited because last time he was a DC, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm predicting the same exact thing with all the new pieces he brought in on defense. Like, I'm really excited about that.
Well, when you say that, because he was the head coach, and yet he's not a real vocal guy.
Yeah, he's not so vocal. But as a head coach, it could be some head coaches that's an OC or a DC.
Right.
But he was just the head coach. We had a DC. We had an OC. But now he has his hand in the defense, if that makes sense. So I feel like that'll be like a big difference.
Is it almost like you now know? You always knew he was there, but it's obvious.
He's there. Like, he's calling the plays. He's there. Like, I know that he's there. And, like, we look on the sideline, like, we know Coach Aranda is calling the plays, making all the adjustments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, makes a ton of sense.
That's a big difference, and I'm excited for it.
What have you seen from the defense, just kind of as far as the, if you want to mention guys, that's fine, but just in general, going up against them every day and seeing him involved and Gary Patterson involved and all of that, what does it look like on that side of the football?
Honestly, it looks scary. We brought in quite a bit of dudes, and I don't know, it seems like a lot more physical than it was last year, especially from the front four, front five, or whatever down we go. Like, those, it starts from those guys, and we got linebacker like Keaton that just came in. That's really good. Matt, like, I feel like we got guys, our DBs, they were getting young, but then we brought some extra older dudes to come in, and I feel like it's a lot of experience back there, so I'm excited for that.
Coach Aranda said there were dogs. Like, both sides of the ball can have dogs, but do you see that?
No, I definitely see that. Like, it's way, like, last year, I feel like we had some dogs, like, including myself, like, some dogs that didn't know they was a dog, that didn't come out to being a dog. But, like, this year, I know I'm a dog. I'm going to take advantage of that. And this year, I feel like we brought other people that's exactly like that know they're a dog, and going to play like they're a dog.
Yeah, there were some puppies that had to grow up a little bit there, and then also, Keaton Thomas seems like a guy that's –
No, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good. He's so fast. Like, he's going to get there. Like, I catch a 5-yard out. Like, I'll turn around, it's Keaton. Like, he's coming from the linebacker spot. I don't know. I just feel like he's just a ball hockey wherever the ball is at.
So 3-9 had to be tough. I can't even imagine. Fans get all vocal. That's what fans do, whatever they may say. And when we weren't the easiest probably to listen to either because things were tough. What's it like to be in the middle of that as a player? And how hard is that? And you don't want to experience it yet again.
You saying to, like, listen to it? Or?
Yeah, to just be a part of just something that just did not work last year.
I honestly don't want to be a part of it at all. Like, this year is like a winning mentality, and I'm making sure everyone knows that. So I feel like the step that I needed to take was last year, don't be thinking it, go and say it. Like now I got my hand more in a lot of things. Like I don't want like everybody being positive over here and there's some people over here that's being negative.
Mhm.
I got to bring them along with us because last year we had a lot of people being negative. So our season was like, you know, like this. Like it's, I don't know. Our coach explained it to us 10, 80, 10. The 80 is in the middle. The top 10 percenters are the leaders of the team, and then the top bottom 10% are like the people that's like kind of finding their way. But we needed everybody to get on one accord, if that makes sense.
And sometimes it could be, no matter if it's 10 and 10, the 10 here, sometimes that 10 at the bottom can bring people down to
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that could be more stronger force than the top 10.
Yeah.
But we need that top 10 to bring everybody along to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need that bottom 10 to be the strongest of our team.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen 3-9. That's what happened. That's what I've said. That's why that happened. Like, we don't need that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It sounded like it's difference from last year. Part of that dragging down, so to speak, is if you guys got behind, it's like, oh gosh, here we go.
God, like we kept seeing the same thing. You know, it's tiring though. You keep seeing the same thing sometimes, and like it's tough. Like go through adversity, but you just got to be strong mentally, and that's another thing I try to help everybody do.
If you don't mind on that, when let's say there's a core of 3 to 5 players and they're kind of negative, and not no particular names, but do you just get them off to the side? Is that kind of hard inside of a locker room? But what do you do? How do you like relax that a little bit where it doesn't become toxic?
Me personally, I'll pull them aside, talk to them. We do have other people that's like more vocal than me, where they'll like get onto them, and like we need. I feel like we need that. I'll be talking to them, but I feel like they need both. Like having somebody talk to them, understand them, and have somebody like, authoritative and like telling them like you need to lock in, like you don't need to have those negative thoughts.
What's it like to be asked to come here and represent the program and be one of a handful of guys that are here representing Baylor? I mean, in Las Vegas, have you ever been here before?
I've been here, but I haven't been able to like tour. I played football in high school, 707, so it wasn't really like actually seeing Vegas. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's this experience been like? I know it's been less than a day, but to represent the school, have that honor. Can you just describe all that?
I'm just blessed. Like I'm very grateful that Coach Aranda like picked me to do that. I feel like this is another step of me taking to be that dog. You know, represent the team. Then you really got to be a dog, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But being out here in Vegas, it's a beautiful like. I really like the scenery in Vegas, like all the mountains and stuff like that. But I haven't been on the Strip. The Strip is crazy. But
yeah,
it's
that's
super
that
nice
lower
stuff.
10% sometimes too.
It's
got some great stuff too, all the lights. But the mountains, I love the views.
Yeah, I love
we don't
views.
we don't see that in Texas.
Not at all. Like when I came back here a few years ago to play high school, like we had it's like some fields by some mountains somewhere around here, and we was like literally it's the fields and the mountains.
That's
so
beautiful.
You get like a nice look like a nice view of it and everything.
Let's go back to the Tomahawk Steak competition last night, which you were not a part of.
No.
It was Keaton
and Carl
and Carl Williams, and they both gorged themselves, which is good that you compete even for that. And then you had the king crab. How much of that? You just think the big? Was there just?
No, it's I thought it was, but it was just like 4 king crab legs, and it was
14.
Like split.
Okay.
It was like split in the middle, and then you could just like eat them.
Butter?
Yeah, it got some butter. It had some nice.
You gotta have that.
Yeah, it had some nice butter.
Yeah, that's good. Is that a bonding thing that when you guys have that meal?
I feel like it was because we went to a hotel and then it was really nice. You know, I have stores, so we all walking around the stores talking to each other, stuff like that. Then we had dinner. We got to talk about what we want to eat. Got shows and stuff like that. I feel like it was a really nice bonding moment because we have to talk. We just sitting at the table.
Yeah. So you got that. This is kind of the unofficial kickoff because now practices are going to start, picking up and getting zoomed in on Tarleton State. So, I mean, I think we can kind of glean from your comments that things are looking up. But just kind of in general, how do you feel about this football team? How do you feel about where you guys are and knowing that here in just a few weeks you're going to be taking that field and, some guys playing their last seasons, things like that. Where's just kind of y'all's mindset, you feel like?
For me, I say I'm very confident. I feel like our mindset is like we came in with a lot of transfers, so we had to get like a lot of adjustments. It was really good, but then now I feel like during this summer we're really bonding really, really well as a team, if that makes sense. I don't feel like last year we was a team, but we wasn't a team. That makes so like the bottom 10 didn't really make it a team. Like we need everyone to be together. Like I stress so much about all the small details and how everybody have to be on the same page. So I feel really confident about going into the season.
I asked Richard Reese this, and Baylor seemed to be about 2 to 3 years behind when it comes to NIL, whether it was recruiting, transfer portal, or even those who are on the roster. They were.
Yeah.
And you experienced both that and now what is now. What is the difference? And is that something that's brought up much?
Like, you saying NIL?
Yeah, because Baylor's now kind of jumped into that. It was almost as if they were, we're not so sure.
Coach Aranda was kind of hesitant because, like before NIL wasn't like, it's normal football. Coach Aranda liked that. Like, he didn't want to bring all the money into it and like have everybody egos. Oh, how much money you getting? Stuff like that. Which now we're doing it because it's gonna help the benefit of the team. But that's probably why we had a slow start.
That's good. That's good that they jumped into it, though. Because otherwise you're drifting away. Like,
you're drifting away from really like the wave of college football.
That's the way
right
it
now,
is.
if that makes sense.
The way it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask it because I haven't asked anybody else about the video game. We got the booth over here. Are you excited about that? I mean, the possibility you're going to be in the game.
That's that's like truly a blessing. That's crazy to think about. I have friends like texting me and asking me I'm be in the game. I thought the first game would be Madden, but NCAA. So I feel like that'd be super nice.
Is that kind of a buzz amongst the team? Like, as far as like just having the game back?
Yeah, because it's been a while. So
10 years.
We want to see that game. We want to see the gameplay. Play with ourselves. Like I told them. It might be funny, but I'm going to upgrade myself as soon as I can.
Good for you.
I would do the same thing if I was ever in a video game.
There you go. Ketron, thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it. It's great to see you. Look forward to you. Ketron Jackson again, Baylor wide receiver. We're in Vegas, Allegiant Stadium at Big 12 Media Days on 365 Sports.
Celebrate American quality and value during the Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr. Drive the best. Get professional-grade power and first-class interior in a GMC Sierra. Qualified buyers save $9,000 on all 2024 GMC Sierra SLT models in stock with qualified trade-in. Military and first responders save an extra $500. Plus, find Red, White, and Blue savings tags on vehicles all over the lot. Drive home American quality and value during our Red, White, and Blue sales tag event at Richard Carr GMC.
Richard Carr. They have the truck for you.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Hello! Welcome back to the friendly confines of our studio after a wild 72 hours in Vegas and no top 5 yesterday because Kyle Whittingham demanded that we air his interview in that slot because it gets a lot of views. I'm not going to lie. And Kyle Whittingham, he's all about social media. He's on the TikTok and the Instagram. He's a Snapchatter. You know that about good old Kyle Whittingham. No, we just ran out of time. Yes, honestly, we had so much stuff. We ran out of time. We had a really hectic day. So back with the top 5 things today. Top 5 things I learned at Big 12 Media Days, of course, presented by our good friends at Texas Beef House. Use our code SICK'EM10 for 10% off of your order. Number 5.
Deion Sanders thinks the Buffs can, quote, dominate. I would stop short at dominate. I think they will be better. I think he still probably has some work to do on his coaching staff to get them up to snuff. Head coaches have to coach coaches, and Deion does that. I think that's a big thing for them. They have a ton of electric-type playmakers. What I don't know that they have a lot of Deons, right? They have Travis Hunter, and they have his kids, and they've got other guys that are Deons. But Deion didn't make his whole career happen by himself. There were very large men in front of him that made that stuff kind of, that went in Congress. He knows this, and they need to be better. But dominate, that comes up front, and that was the thing they were the worst at, maybe in the entire country last year. They did not block, they did not tackle very well. But if he thinks they can dominate, I'll believe now. Number 4, Sonny Dykes thinks TCU has been forgotten. He was very candid about that. And look, he understands why. They had a bad year. He was also very candid about why he thought he didn't do a very good job of building the team chemistry last year and getting the right fit culture-wise for the guys that they brought in. That is remedied. Garrett even made mention to me last night, we're on our way back from the airport in Austin, how much he raved about Josh Hoover. It wasn't Josh has to earn it with wins. One of the best quarterbacks he's been around were the words he said. So if that turns out to be true, and look, no coach comes in and goes, dear God, why do we have to play this season? Can we fast forward to 2 years from now where I think we'll be good? That's not what they say, but I've learned to take Sonny Dykes at his word pretty well. He's not a guy who blows a lot of smoke. So if he's saying that Josh Hoover's the dude, that's going to be interesting to see if Sonny Dykes is right. Number 3, Jalen Daniels is healthy. He doesn't want to talk about his back. He doesn't want Lance Leipold to talk about his back. He is fine. And that is great news, not just for Kansas. It's not bad news probably for the other 15 teams in the Big 12. But it's great news for college football because this guy, legit Heisman candidate, if he plays 11 or 12 games. Like, if he plays a whole season, this dude should be a Heisman candidate based on what we've seen from him. What we haven't seen from him, though, is that full season. But a full season, healthy, I think, those things lingered for a couple years. They shut him down to get better. If that worked, he's healthy, and he will tell anybody who asks that he is. So if we're to take him at his word, scary times when you play the Jayhawks this year. Number 2, Dave Aranda's totally changed his approach. We actually got a chance to talk to Dave a lot, and we had a technical difficulty that you didn't get to see the interview, but he kept saying getting back to ball. And he was doing all these administrative things. Now that he's calling plays on the defense, he's got a different approach, a much more hands-on, involved approach in things, is more to the executive role that he was trying to do previously. Now, look, he still has to make up for the fact that, after they won in 21, he didn't get in the transfer portal when they were hot. The recruiting class he had wasn't good and did not match a team that had just won the Big 12. And then the one in the year after, which is usually the better one, than the one that when you win the Big 12 or win a conference, usually it's the class after that because now people are excited about you. Those two classes haven't really worked out for him. He admitted to that, but they have to make up for that somehow. Have they made up for it? I don't know, but I can tell you his approach has changed. They were actually on our flight last night because their flight got canceled, so we got to talk to Dave just a little bit more, and you could just tell some different things. As a matter of fact, he was coaching up the linebackers, sitting there and while they were waiting for the flight. So this, talking about football, talking about ball, that's what he was doing. And so we'll see. If there's anybody who can do it, I think it's Dave Aranda. I'll be honest with you. I know that everybody has the right to have their doubts, but this is a really smart dude, and he's going to figure it out. Number 1, Cam Rising is ready to rock, man. He's out there throwing darts at BYU. This dude hasn't played football in a year. He is intense, ready to go. I cannot think of a better match of coach personality and quarterback personality than Kyle Whittingham and Cam Rising. They are peas in a pod, absolutely. And Kyle Whittingham can kind of stand back and be the measured, staid coach. And then this guy can be, Willie Nelson out there. I mean, I was trying to figure out his vibe. It's either Willie Nelson or
he's like a Waylon man.
Like Waylon, yes, Waylon Jennings. Waylon's the guy who will talk noise. Yeah, Waylon Jennings. That's his vibe. He's got a very Waylon Jennings vibe to him. And when you're out there, ready to get the entire BYU fan base mad at you, when they already are, their default setting is mad at you. Now he's taken them from mad to enraged, and politely enraged, of course, as they are at BYU, but enraged nonetheless, and ready for that Holy War game. But yeah, we tried to get Cam Rising, we weren't able to, but I did stalk him in a couple of other interviews and listen to him. He's ready to go. You can tell, not playing football for a year has really irritated this dude. That's the top 5. We're back to wrap it up now.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Yeah. Who had the longer hair, Cam Rising or Avery Johnson?
I don't know. I wish we'd have gotten a chance to talk to both of them. I think they need NIL deals with shampoo companies.
Yeah,
especially
like Troy
Avery
Polamalu.
Avery Johnson's got that Polamalu thing going because his is curly. Like Cam Rising's more of just like I said, Waylon Jennings, like the rebel. He's not really. I'm sure he's using some Pert Plus or something, but he's not really as fashionable as
he's
Avery.
32.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes has already taken over the shampoo commercials. I don't know if you guys have watched TV. He's been the guy now for a couple years, and Polamalu makes appearances in there as well. But Patrick's the one that's now the shampoo guy, and he's got the Polamalu stuff was really cool and lasted a while. And he's really made a decade out of that. Sponsorship. And so Patrick, I'm sure, will be the guy for a really long time. So, yeah, he's got that kind of hair that Head and Shoulders is able to really put out there and promote, and the star personality and everything else. So, but yeah, I mean, to y'all's point, he could have some competition, or not some competition, but he could have some cameos from guys like Cam Rising or Avery Johnson. Both have a pretty good head of hair. But I also, what was I going to say? I was sitting there, I was losing track of the Cam Rising stuff. That was like everything else. Everything else is blown out of proportion. His comments were entirely blown out of proportion. And I mean, it didn't get stupid, people getting actually angry, but don't we want our quarterback of the rival team to hate our rival and to say we're going to kick their ass?
Yeah.
There's nothing to pearl clutch over that. I don't think there was much of it, but yeah,
it was awesome.
It was great. I thought it was awesome. I thought it feeds into the rivalry, and BYU Utah. You talk about what matchups are going to be interesting in the new Big 12 and who could be the new rival. That's going to be right at the top of the list of the most heated rivalry, and now it's got conference stakes involved as well. So I think that's one that you definitely needed to protect, and they did, and the Holy War is going to be awesome as a Big 12 entity, hopefully for a while.
All right, I did. I really wish we could have had a chance to visit with one of the two, but I would have wanted to hear from Cam Rising. I just think that's pretty cool, and the fact that it was.
We'll get Avery Johnson next year because he's
Rittenberg or someone that said that Rising still has a year left of eligibility.
Yeah, I think there's conflict on that because I saw something else debunking that, and who knows who's right, but he said either way, he's not coming back, so that this will be his last year. I think he made that clear that he was not interested, even if that was the case. I saw some
unless Miami
discrepancy.
Needs a tight end.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you would hope he's got some NFL opportunities at this point. But yeah, I think he's done, and that was sort of made known the last couple of days in Las Vegas.
All right, Garrett Ross, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Levi.
A big breaking news story that Paul just mentioned a second ago.
Yeah, Monty Kiffin's passed away at 84.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, former Nebraska great. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The inventor of the Tampa 2.
He and Tony Dungy, Lovie Smith.
He invented two very lasting things in college football. One, Tampa 2, and Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, long time a part of the Nebraska program. And of course his son, Lane, hell of a coach at Ole Miss. Craig, did you bring up what Lane Kiffin responded to your tweet about Aranda, why their recruiting's gotten better, we're paying the players?
Yeah, he quoted it and just had a laughing emoji as far as that particular quote went, which that was cool. It was cool to see Lane Kiffin, interact with one of my tweets, but that was one that got carried a pretty great distance in terms of people having fun with that. And like the 99.9% of it was like, we love the honesty. And actually, like, it pissed me off a second ago, honestly. I went to the Sick'em boards and I see a couple people complain, like, I wish you would have said it differently. There was nothing wrong with what he said. There was nothing.
No,
it was refreshing. It was, and it's like, well, you're not giving credit to the coaches. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're looking for something to, like, be negative about. It was a great quote. It was hilarious. Lane Kiffin thought it was hilarious. It was brutally honest. It's today's college football. Like, quit being scared of, like, oh, now our running backs coach isn't getting the credit he deserves because of this. You know, it's just okay. That was so stupid.
Like, you don't need, this is from me now.
Oh, I know.
Going inside the premium section, which is a major part of what we do at Sick'em365.com, there are, no matter what, there are sides taken. Those who are bitching about everything, and those who bitch about wanting change, and then when they get changed, they don't like the change. And then there's those that, like, just want to know what's going on with Baylor and try to at least just stay informed.
No, and I appreciate all sides. I just couldn't believe when I went and looked that there was actually somebody trying to spin that as a negative. Like,
I saw
thousands of people across the country are laughing and having fun with it, and Lane Kiffin's one of those people. And so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that that's the case at this point. Doesn't bring it down at all, but I just wish, man, people would lighten the hell up, and I sure hope Dave Aranda wins some games so that people will shut the hell up.
They're not going to, though. So he admits they're paying players, and it was like, well, why did you have to wait 3 years to admit? That kind of thing. It's just who they are. Somebody said message boards suck.
I mean, it's not exclusive to them.
Sick'em does a good job, but there are some that are just like antagonists, some who just fight, and some who are just always.
But that's like to the point of that texture. That's message boards everywhere. So it just happens to be this example that we're giving. But yeah, man, have some fun, lighten up, and enjoy the fact that your coach, who doesn't have a lot of great sound bites necessarily, had probably one of the best ones of the entire Big 12 Media Days. So.
I agree. All right. Thank you again, Garrett, Emery Winter, Levi Caraway, Jack McKenzie. Again, thanks to all of our sponsors who helped us do what we do in Vegas, including, as we mentioned before many times, Allen Samuels, House of Travel, Bill Denton and Bambi SQ for setting us up with our airline tickets and the Airbnb. By the way, Joni Lehman off to retirement, who's longtime media relations with the Big 12, running many of the events. For Craig Smoke and for Paul Catalina, back at it again tomorrow at 3. I'm David Smoke. Thank you so much for your time. 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 tonight. This is 365 Sports, and good night.